What is going on?
Hello,
What is happening?
Big Money B.
How are you?
Talk to me. Happy Thursday the 12th.
That's right. Happy Thursday the 12th. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk some Jason movies. I'm excited to rant about my current situation with YouTube and drink some beer.
Where do you want to start tonight? Do you want to rant first? You want to talk to the chat first?
Let's talk to the chat and then I'll rant and then we'll get to the beers and then we'll get to the candy corn and the masks and everything else.
Saturn Video with a $5 super chat. Let's read this one, Brandon. Royal Crown CHH has reached maximum. And everybody, let me know that I sound good. I'm using a different computer tonight because the last time I had a bunch of crap. But Royal Crown CHH has reached maximum level. He now soars through the stars of planet Paramount. We tip our glasses of hot butter to thee, our new king. That's awesome. I'm a king. Brandon, I actually had some good news today, but I don't want it to come at the cost of your bad news today. So, but I did have good news today. We could talk about that later. But thank you, Saturn Video. Let me give you a little something real quick, a quick one for your generosity per usual.
With all these nicknames, everyone that I accumulate like 3 pounds of fat.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
That clip is so vicious.
Mm-hmm. It gets weirder too as time goes on.
Anyway, let me say hi to everybody. It does. Let me say hi to everybody, Brandon. Antonis, Quentin, Kevin, Justin, Blu-ray, Baldy, Chris, how are you? Katrina, Ben Grimm, Justin Smith, Mike's Horror Corner, Mike Mack, Quentin, Dead Recliner, Dude Who Loves Smoothies. What's up, man? PP Dangler. PP Dangler's in the house, Brandon.
All right.
Foz Rotten, Richard Stange, Camp Flashback, Connor, and the father and son duo, as we call him.
Mm-hmm.
I mashed the like button. Good. How is everybody? We have 102 people in here, Brandon. Apparently, there's some Friday the 13th fans in the house, and I think that they're happy to talk about this tonight rather than Halloween.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I'm over the Halloween stuff, man, to be honest. I'm just over it. Like I'm not one way or the other. I won't rant about it too much here, but I'm over it, man. Like as soon as
let's get it out the way. Just go for it.
My big problem is it started, I guess, 2 weeks ago when we first heard that Trancas was shopping the rights around and everybody started, conspiracy theorying about it and who's going to get the rights and all this stuff. Whenever that was, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And right then, every YouTube channel on the planet, every news article on the planet had an article about this as if it was some big thing. Like we didn't think they were going to be shopping the rights around sooner than later. The iron's hot right now. Of course, they're going to shop around the rights. That's not news. And then yesterday, when the news about A24 started dropping, I wasn't too happy about the news, but that seemed like a logical choice. And then today I wake up and it's fucking Miramax who has the rights. So it's like all these sources who, claim to be credible sources were wrong again for like the 7th time. And after all that, it's fucking Miramax that has the rights to the show, not A24. It's just hilarious to me. I don't care at all because there's no concrete news. They just have the rights. That can mean a ton of different things. And second of all, they just have the TV rights, I think, not movie rights, right?
Oh, I think they got all of it. If memory serves, I think they got all of it.
I just don't care until there's actual announcements. I don't care. This is not an announcement to me. Because Miramax could bring in a fucking baller creative team and a baller director and give us a masterpiece. A24 could have a shit script and a shit director and give us a terrible film. So,
Oh, I hear you.
I don't really know where I'm going with this. I have no point to cap it off with, but my rant is over.
Well, don't you kind of think too that maybe people are just kind of like, you know what? Like, I don't care right now. We just had 3 movies.
Yeah, Halloween Ends was last year. I think it's just
crazy to think about.
Yeah, not to say that it's too much, but we just finished that era. So since we're not looking at direct sequels to those anymore, I think a little bit of breathing room is a good thing,
Yeah. Well, that is what it is. So, Brandon, you want to talk about the beers we're drinking tonight on the 12th,
Sure.
Thursday the 12th Extravaganza? I managed to get one of those Oktoberfest beers.
Mm-hmm. I really
Now, I
want a
haven't had one of
Jacko.
these before. Tell me about this
Um,
beer right here.
It used to be the quintessential fall beer as far as I was concerned, but the last 2 or 3 seasons, I feel like it's tasted off from what I used to like about it. I have not had this season yet, so I can't speak to it. I'm hoping it's good. But 2 seasons ago, 2 years ago, Shanna and I fell in love with the Sam Adams Jacko, which is a way more pumpkin-y, more Halloween tasting beer than this. And I think it kind of took over where Oktoberfest left off as far as quality goes. But hopefully this batch is good. The last couple of years have been disappointing. But no matter what, this is by far better than the Yingling Oktoberfest for sure. So
My band, all they drink, Brandon, is Yinglings. That's all
I like
they drink.
Yingling. By themselves, Yinglings are good, but their Oktoberfest is nasty. You know?
Really?
Are you a fan of Yingling?
Not really. I don't. I'm really picky, dude. I got an apple cider. I accidentally cut off my my ring light. I'm gonna have to turn that back on. But I what was I gonna say? They drink Yinglings, and I drink those apple beers, whatever you call them, apple ciders, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like
Um,
Angry Orchard and
Angry Orchard. So I got that as a spare, but I've got my Oktoberfest, and I'm ready to try it before we. I'd rather get drinking before we get talking about these films because I have a feeling you're gonna piss me off about one of them tonight, and I'd rather be drunk if you do piss me
I
off.
hear you. I've got 3 on standby. I'll need to go to the fridge to get the other 9 if I need to.
Dude, fuck. I'm gonna have to go in the kitchen and open this. I can't find my Friday the 13th bottle opener. I can't.
Yeah, I don't think
find
it'll
it.
open. It's not a twist off, I don't think. Use the edge of your desk, pound it.
I tell you what, Brandon. We got PP Dangler becoming a new channel member. God bless you. And
All
let me
right.
give you a little something for becoming a channel member real quick. I'm excited, but we have to get going because we have a lot of films to talk about tonight. So let me play this really quick, and I'm gonna go get my drink open.
It's always been Creepshow 2. One that we have is great value. So Creepshow 2 also to me just feels like that perfect 80s time capsule. You know what I mean? Like with the Firebird and the second sequence and all that stuff. The one that we have is great value, so it's a Walmart brand. It'll flip your lunch tray.
And it will flip your lunch tray. How is everybody in the chat doing this evening? It occurred to me that I haven't done a live stream in well over a month and a half, which is crazy to me because I feel like we just did one last week. The last traditional live stream I did was the 3K celebration stream after my car broke down at 7-Eleven that night. But we did a couple video game live streams, I think, after that. But the last real live stream was the 3K, well over a month and a half ago. I really wanted to do a 4K celebration stream on my channel, but now I'm at 4,600 something subscribers, so I feel like I missed the boat. Should I still have a 4K stream, or should I just wait till the 5K, if and when? But yeah, I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm excited about hopefully hitting 5K before the new year. That would be awesome. But those of you who know, I've had a lot of trouble with YouTube today as far as demonetization go. Christian already pretty much knows the details, but I'll wait for him to get back in the room before I really talk about it. But I'm fucking pissed off regarding YouTube right now. I think it's a travesty. My feelings are hurt. My ego is scratched in not a good way. My feathers are ruffled. I shaved my back hair because I was so upset. So my shoulders are bald now. I almost pulled a couple teeth. It was a bad afternoon, weird day at work, bad YouTube news, all kinds of weird stuff. But I am going on vacation next week, which I'm very excited about. So that's sort of the caveat here. The icing on the cake is I get to take 9 days off work. I think 6 days off work, including weekends. So 9-10 days total. But long story short, and I'll expand when Christian gets back, is I'm demonetized, and I'm going to make a video appeal after this to send to them. So even if they allow me back in, it's going to be at least 14 business days from tomorrow before they review the video. So I'm probably going to finish out the month of October with the Tabata Vision Halloween special, all that stuff, but demonetized. and it's just it's a disgrace. I'll explain to you guys in a minute what really happened, but it's a big bullshit ball of bullshit. It's nonsense. There's no merit to it. Judging by the chat, it looks like there's been a lot of people having trouble with YouTube too. I don't know what it is about YouTube lately. Like, I've been here since 2007 making content, not in Tabata Vision, but on my regular channel. And like, it was so good for the first 10, 12, 13 years. The last 5 or 6 years, man, every year I feel like it's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Cody, yeah, the same exact situation, I think, verbatim as Garrett went through. Other people have gone through it too. But I'll explain it in detail in a minute. Big Crack Rock says shaving your back hair won't help anything. Yeah, it won't help anything, but it makes me feel better for the moment, you know? For the moment, it makes me feel better. See, Clay said had to take off work for health reasons, need that money. I'm sorry to hear that, Clay. I hope you're doing better. Vanderhoff, what's up, Vanderhoff? YouTube is an asshole like the referees in the NFL, all favoritism. You're right. They really are. I don't know what they're doing. YouTube has really become guilty until proven innocent. I will say that before I expand on it. Evan, the movie guy, says, boo, YouTube. You are absolutely correct. Ben Grimm says, having breakfast or French toast for dinner. Need a breakfast for dinner, Planet Dirty. Dude, French toast for dinner is a fantastic idea. Connor says, this is an abomination. I agree.
Brandon, that was a lot harder than it needed to be.
Was it?
I couldn't find my bottle opener. I'm sorry.
Damn. I thought you like died out there or something.
City
Did you have
had
a heart
to come
attack
get
in
it
your
for me.
kitchen?
God damn, I got 40. No, I'm sorry. Did you hold it down, Brandon?
I did. We were talking about shaving back hair and de-stressing and YouTube and all that stuff. I kind of condensed it, but I told him I would expand on it when you got back. Even though you've heard me bitch about it all day, I'll expand upon it again whenever you're ready. Cheers.
I say we get going. Cheers, brother.
Okay.
Cheers.
Let's do it. All right.
I like this, by the way. That's not bad.
So far, it's better than last year.
Mine's ice cold too, so I mean it tastes good.
Oh yeah.
All right, B. Let me see something. My camera's too bright. Let me just get myself situated, and we'll get going. There we go. All right. Is everybody ready in the chat to get going? Because I know I'm ready. We got Salem Station Podcast with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much. We were close to Jason crossing over with Michael. Brandon, I have a feeling you think that's for the best.
Yeah, I don't want to see that team up. I think that's just Freddy versus Jason. As much as the concept kicks ass,
that out of Michael.
Yeah, those concepts don't work.
His ass.
Those concepts don't work. They just don't. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Chucky versus Pinhead. I don't want to see anybody like that crossover again. Unless it's like if it's a Monster Squad style team up where it's all of them together, fucking do it. That's awesome. But I don't want to see Michael versus Freddy or Leatherface versus Victor Crowley. Let's be honest, Leatherface would fucking destroy Victor Crowley. I don't care if he's a ghost or not.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress, Christian. Let's take it away. Go ahead.
All right. Right before we get into it, Brandon, I just want to do my little bit of promotion I have real quick. Tomorrow, guys, on You Need a Candles, Instagram or youneedacandles.com at 6 p.m. for Friday the 13th. I have a plethora of, a Friday the 13th melts. We've got the part 3 coming back in action. Higgins Haven smells great. We've got one of the fan favorites, Fresh Linen part 5. Smells like fresh linen. Brandon's favorite, we have the brand new Friday the 13th remake melt.
It's black fig and plum. That probably smells
really
delicious.
good. Oh, yeah. It's good. And look, Brandon, I tried. You would understand this. Like, you know what the poster looks like? That kind of murky green. I tried to get that.
It looks
Sydney
pretty good.
Did rather.
It looks pretty good. You're in glaring white light too. I'm sure it's darker than that.
Yeah, yeah. The fan favorite, we have the return of the Big Apple.
Very nice.
Which big bestseller.
I need to get that one.
Yeah, you need to. And also, finally back for the first time is the Milk Dud special.
Look at that. Look
They're
at
back.
that.
These are sold as a set, guys. They come with butter and chocolate, and you can make the buttered milk duds.
That's killer.
And the last thing, and we'll get going, Brandon. The last thing is we have a candle tomorrow, and I don't have the labels printed yet. That'll be done tonight after the show. I have a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
But look at this, Brandon.
Oh, nice. That's very cool. It's like the hockey mask floating in bloody water.
Yep. So this is a part 4 candle. And
I kind of like it
smells
blank
incredible.
white, dude. It kind of looks sweet like that. It looks like an art piece.
Yeah. Well, I really like the white candle bases too. So this is going to be available tomorrow. It's a final chapter candle. It's really nice.
Oh yeah.
All right, B. It's time for us to take a journey with our audience. And
It looks like
where-
Cody's taking a journey tomorrow, Christian. Look at that comment.
Let me see. Oh, I'm watching all of Brandon's Friday the 13th videos tomorrow while burning some Unita melts naked in honor of Brandon. That's
It's like I'm
fucking
dying
awesome.
tomorrow. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you again, Salem Side, for the $2 super chat. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you. No Freddy's melts tomorrow, Dead Recliner. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th. It's Jason Day. All right, Brandon, you ready? And the audience is taking this trip with us. So the rules are set as follows, Brandon. We're going off of the Brandon scale, which is a 1 through 10, but the above 10 is a Crystal Rage, as it's called. Is that what it's called?
Crystal Skull, but I'll take Crystal Rage too. I love it. So
Well,
Crystal Rage almost sounds
could that
better.
be? Can Crystal Rage be between 10 and Crystal Skull, or do you think it should be after Crystal Skull?
I think Crystal Rage would be like a 10 tiers above Crystal Skull, you know?
All right, you can only give. All right, so you can use the Crystal Rage if you want, but Brandon, we're going to talk about this film briefly. I'll read the comments from the chat, and then we're going to give our 10 scale with a Crystal Skull and Rage allowed. All
Okay.
right?
All right.
The first film, guys, 1980s, Friday the 13th, Studio Paramount Pictures, who I now work for. And Brandon, the original film brought in a box office total of $59 million, 800,000. Where do we stand, B, on the original Friday the 13th? Because I think you deep down respect the shit out of this movie. That's what I think.
I do. I enjoy it. I think it pales in comparison to what comes after it, but that's not that movie's fault. You want to hear my number for it? To me, it's a 7.
At the end.
Oh, at the end. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. You already said it now.
I thought 7 out of 10 is what I rate the first movie, which is a worthy of a rewatch for my rating scale.
Well, how did you feel about the first time you saw the original film?
When I first saw the original film, I thought it was very tame and really boring because I had seen the Jason ones first. Because remember, I've been watching these since
You were a kid.
way too young, way too young. But I saw the hockey mask movies before the first film. So I still liked it. I appreciated the ambiance and the atmosphere, I guess, in child terms. But yeah, I just I like it better now than I did way back then, you know? So
I think if you would have saw it first, Brandon, do you think you would kind of have more of a, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe you would have saw the first film first and you still would have said, man, they just got better and better, you know? I don't know. That's hard to say.
yeah. I think
Brandon,
if I had seen the first film, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'm looking at the chat, and dude, I'm seeing a lot of 7s, 8s, 9s. It's like 7s to 10s. I'm seeing a lot of that. Nothing lower than that. I see 1 6, but a lot of 8s and Crystal Skulls. We got a Crystal Skull in there. Stardust.
Wow.
10
Yeah,
out
there's
of
some
10.
people who swear by that movie. There are some people who swear by that movie.
We did get a super chat from TGB. I love these names, by the way. You guys are great. Planet Dirty is You Need a Horror podcast, but with an edge. Isn't it so funny, Brandon, that you have created you have created, and I credit you, but what it is you say stuff that's not weird, but I'll laugh at it and make it a point to think it's funny. Like when you said, I think this movie is this, but it's like it's with an edge. And I just think it's hysterical. And the audience loves it. So you have a ton of expressions. It's blank with an edge.
Mm.
One more thing, and I'll shut up about it.
Yeah.
Flip your lunch tray.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many slogans do you have?
I don't know. They just come out of nowhere. And I never thought they were weird until I've been talking to you people. I'm like, oh, maybe real people don't really say this stuff. You know, like old and folded. I guess I figured that everybody heard old and folded, but apparently not.
That's just so funny because you deliver it so dry. Because
Yeah.
because I'm old and folded, but thank you, TGP. I appreciate that. As a matter of fact, let me show you this real quick. Florida man arrested for arson while burning Halloween DVDs naked on front lawn lathered in butter. Florida man claiming I've been shown the light and demons to his God. Dude, you look like such a you look like such a druggie with the hat on.
Dude, that's the face of a man who really wants Long John Silver's for dinner. You know what I mean? That's what that look is right there. Nick's in the house.
All right. What's up, Nicholas? All right, Brandon. So I really am big on the original. I love the original Friday the 13th. To me, it's like I think I think Sean is a really good director. I really do. And I don't think he gets enough credit. If you look at some of the stuff he's done, that The New Kids is a really good movie he directed. Deep Star 6. It's an underwater creature. Like, that's one of the big three in 88, 89. What was it? Deep Star, Leviathan, and then there was
Abyss. That was 89. Was it 89?
88, 89. There was 88, 89 furthest there. But that's like the big three, right?
Yeah.
Dude, you got Long John Silver's on my mind.
Dude. Yeah, I want that crispy,
Like,
that 3 chicken tender platter with the fries and the hush puppies. Dude, I need that in my life right now. And a root beer. Dude.
Brandon, I'll keep it short and sweet. I like the original Friday the 13th. I'm going to give it a 9. I think it's great.
Damn. Holy shit. Okay.
I love it every year that I watch it more and more.
Yeah.
I really do. All right, Brandon, we're moving on. I'm going to give the average score rating for part 1 a I think it's 8 is the score for the average. But Brandon, we're moving on to part 2. Came out a year later after the smash success. Friday the 13th part 2. We're still with Paramount, who I work for now. Box office 21,700,000. Brandon, a steep decline in box office. 30 million down, Brandon. Now, the reason I wanted to do the box offices, Brandon, because I think it's very interesting that the box offices actually kind of reflect how Jason can't die as we'll go through the series. And you're going to see that every time you think he's done for, he just comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But 21 million, Brandon. Part 2, people are already chiming in with comments. I'm seeing 9s. I'm seeing 10s. I'm seeing 8.3s, 8.5s, 8s, Brandon. With part 2, I mean, how do you feel about part 2, Friday the 13th?
I like it a lot better than part 1. I think it has a lot of the same kind of vibe, mood, and atmosphere that the first movie has, but I think it has a darker quality to it. Things seem a little bit more bleak. It's part 1 on steroids. It's part 1 with an edge. I think they do a good job of making Jason, like, the audience knows Jason is on the loose, but the way they have the characters talk about Jason in the film, it gives it a really eerie quality, like he could be anywhere at any time, which he is in the movie. It's just there's a really weird ghostly quality to Jason in this movie, more so than the first one. Even though he's a physical presence, there's a real like ghost story quality about him in that movie, which I love. I love the burlap sack he wears. The overalls are hilarious. The only thing I would change is I feel like he should be bigger because he is very small in that movie comparatively to what he is in part 3, 4, 5, or 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and so on. But good cast, good characters. I like the fact that they explained that Jason didn't really die. He survived, must have washed up on shore, couldn't find his way home, grew up in the woods. And by the time he was able to, sort of reconnect with his mom, he sees her get her fucking head chopped off. So I sort of like that they kind of put that in there saying, okay, look, he didn't die. This is not a ghost. This is not a zombie. but this is like a crazy fucking hillbilly manically living out in the woods in this dilapidated shack. I love that shit. I think it's
Right.
fantastic.
Well, let me ask you this, Brandon. I did a video about it might have been a week ago or so, and it was called I called it The Magic of Friday the 13th Part 2. And the thing I loved about Part 2 is it's the only one that I feel has genuine connective tissue to the feel of the first movie. Like, it legitimately feels like it has the same ominous kind of creep that the first movie has. And the thing about Jason in Part 2 that you'll still feel in Part 3, and Part 2, Jason is just as much of like a mystery to the audience as he is to the characters in the movie. And that certainly changed in the sequels, right? By the time you get to Part 6, probably, that's where you kind of peel the curtain back a little bit and you see Jason after a moment of a kill or after this or that, or you get his reactions to stuff. But in this one, he's just as much of a mystery to the audience as the characters are. And I wonder if that's for the best or if what happens during the sequels are the best. We can talk about that as we get through the series, but that certainly changed, right? How Jason was perceived from the beginning of the movies, like for Part 2, compared to like Part 8. In Part 8, we see him react to we'll get there, but we see him react to a billboard. You know, you would like, but in Part 2, he's there and he's gone. Boom, boom, kill, run. Like, and I just wonder, is that Jason at his best? If you could give me a blank yes or no on that, is that Jason at his best when he's just as much of a threat to the audience as he is to the characters in the movie?
Oh, fuck. You're asking me to choose between that concept.
I'm basically asking you to
transformation.
choose between Mongoloid Jason and Zombie Jason. You don't have to answer yet, but I'm trying to put, my thing is, I want this to be a therapy session for you tonight. I want you to learn something about yourself as we go through these movies, okay? I swear.
I will say this. I prefer Zombie Jason. But there's a part of me that thinks Jason, maybe not from Part 2, but maybe from Part 4. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Maybe human Jason is more of a threat sometimes versus Zombie Jason because he is faster. He does creep and lurk and move in and out very quickly. So maybe there's validity to that. I can't say that word tonight, but yeah.
Validity, yeah. Brandon, I'm gonna give Part 2 another 9 out of 10.
God damn, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. So it's 0.5 more than the first movie.
You're stiff, man. We're talking about Friday the 13th Part 2.
It's weird because like I love a lot of movies, but I'll still rate them lower if I think the movie isn't up to snuff with other movies. You know what I mean? Like there's movies that are 3 out of 10s that I fucking love, like Shock 'em Dead.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon. This is where it's gonna get interesting. And I was looking at I'm going back to the comments now. I was looking at everybody. How's everybody doing in there? I saw the ratings. People are dropping their ratings the second we got going. But Brandon, the ratings for Part 2 are high. I'm seeing 7s, 8s, 10s. So again, with Part 2, I'm gonna say it's probably rated a little bit higher than Part 1. But Brandon, it's time to move on. It's the early 80s. 3D has kind of gotten somewhat of a resurgence. We've got Jaws 3D coming out. We've got Amityville 3D, Brandon, which I actually think is a good movie. Just 3D or not, I actually like Amityville 3D. But among those, the biggest was probably this. Friday the 13th, Part 3, Brandon, 3D. And Brandon, we went up $15 million in the box office from Part 2.
Yeah, look at that.
From 21. Let's look back, Brandon. We went from 21,700,000, which against like $1.5 million budget, Brandon, is still printing money.
Yeah.
Minor comes back and we go up to 36. Like, look at this. This is remarkable, Brandon. 36 million. We went 15 million up for Part 3. Now, Brandon, I went on record and I still feel this till this day. You won't agree with me, and that's fine. This is the best look Jason ever had. This is the ghost Jason. I understand you're gonna. I understand. I respect it. But to me, this is like when I think of Jason, when it pops into my head, this is the look. This isn't my favorite Friday, but Brooker had like this he looked like a ghost. He moved like a ghost. The way he was shown and creeping behind a curtain, or you see that arm just go right into the barn. It's so ghostly that
So
I
out of
love
every
Brooker.
version of Jason, this is your quintessential Jason, right?
Absolutely.
Or just are you just saying
Absolutely.
human?
No.
Okay.
No, quintessential. End of the day, quintessential part 3. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite movie, but like
Yeah.
part 3 to me is like as iconic as classic Jason can be.
Hmm.
You know.
There's a lot of people who think that way too.
Well,
3 is
it's nothing like 2,
Mhm.
and it's nothing like 4. Like it truly is its own thing. Like this Jason was like a ghost to me.
Yeah.
You know. He was almost like a paranormal thing. The way he just comes in and out, you really don't until the very end of the movie where you see him bloodied in the mirror or the window. The whole movie, it's just like I don't know. There was something just ghostly that I really, really love. Now, the undermask of Jason in part 3, it's not my favorite. I actually think part 7 or 8, I love the undermask look a lot. I really like those.
Yeah.
But mask on, I think part 3 is iconic. You know, I really do. So the movie, though, I don't like it as much as 1 or 2, which I know probably sounds bizarre to you. But I'm talking just about the look of Jason. I think 1 and 2 are, in my opinion, are better movies than 3. But I love Jason in part 3. So I'm gonna have to give part 3 a 7.5 out of 10. But the score is a 10 out of 10. The score is a 10 out of 10. The disco theme will make how many babies you think were conceived because of the disco theme?
Oh, a ton. Yeah, I like part 3. I would rate it a little bit higher than part 1 and 2, actually. I do think a lot of the movie is boring. I think there's a little bit of a pacing problem. But I do like the area of Higgins Haven. I think it's an awesome location, very creepy. The fact that it was the first movie shot in California, it really starts establishing that look of Crystal Lake we get used to in parts 4. And it's just I don't know, there's something about it that sort of drags for me, but I still enjoy it more than part 1 and 2, if that makes any sense. Jason's really good. I like the fact that he's a lot bigger in this movie, even though that makes no physical sense since it's like literally the day after. The way he gets his hockey mask, I think, is lackluster, but at the time they didn't know they were making an icon there, so it makes more sense to me that it was sort of an incidental thing. It wasn't this grand awakening like it was in the remake where they made a big deal about the mask. This is sort of just a thing that he put on and it stuck. I do like those aspects of the film in retrospect. But as far as the look of Jason goes, I like the green shirt. I like the khaki pants. I like that look, especially in part 4 and part 6, really. But I'm not a fan of the slightly hunchback look. And like you said, when he takes the mask off, he just looks like an orc from Lord of the Rings to me. But I can see why a lot of people like the look, for sure.
Do you like orcs?
I do like orcs, yeah. They're pretty good. You
know? Somebody asked a question I thought was a good question. Hold on, Brandon. Here's a question. Would you guys have preferred Sackhead Jason for the whole franchise? Do you think guys like, or do you guys like the change with the hockey mask?
I like the change.
I mean, the hockey mask it's incredible. You know?
Yeah.
I'm glad the hockey mask happened. I like the sack, but I like that it's one movie too. You know? Brandon, what is your score for Friday the 13th Part 3? Did you say it was
No, that's a clean 8 for me out of 10.
A what? What was that again?
A clean 8. Not a dirty 8, a clean one. A very clean, crisp, edgy 8. So
a straight 8?
A straight 8.
All right, Brandon, let me see what the let me scroll the comments. Look at the scores. 7.5's 8, 8. 7, 8, 8, 8, 8, 9, 6, 6.5, 8, 8, 9, 8, 8. Brandon, I think 8 is the average score for part 3.
It's commendable.
So we're gonna move on, Brandon.
All right.
We're gonna move on. Then we're gonna talk about something you have going on. But Brandon, the next movie is the last one. Actually,
Yep.
if I can find, son of a bitch, Brandon. I think I forgot to add this one. I forgot to
You've been
add the
drinking.
title card. I have been drinking. Brandon, the next movie is Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, I think I got it in my phone. I'll pull up to the screen because I want to show people that I got to look at the box office because that's what's interesting to me. The reason I didn't put the cost, Brandon, is because they all pretty much cost the same. All right, Brandon. Final chapter, guys. I got it right here. Box office 33 million. Brandon.
Yep.
All right, Brandon. So let's review. What did part 3 make?
36.
36. So we went
Yep.
down 3 million, Brandon. But we also promoted this as the final chapter. Do you think that got butts in the seats, or do you think people were super high on the character regardless? I mean, it's hindsight and it's kind of hard to say, but what is your take on that?
I think they were super high in the character. The final chapter probably helped, but I think at that point it was sort of like 2007 Saw 4. By that fourth movie, you're like, yeah, we're going to go see a fucking event movie with all of our friends. We've been seeing these in screens for 3 years in a row, basically. I think by that point, you really capture the zeitgeist of horror. You know what I mean? So I think butts are going to be in seats regardless because it's such a popular thing. I mean, that was their Saw. That was their Scream, you know? So in the 80s, everybody's going to go see the new Jason movie, you know?
Yeah.
I
Brandon,
regret that
let me
we were
ask
not
you-
alive back then vividly to see that era on display.
Dude, I totally agree.
Infinitely
I
jealous,
totally
dude.
agree.
Yeah.
Brandon, what does the final chapter do the best out of any of these movies?
There's so many things I could say about that movie, and I'll say them all. I think the final chapter is the most confident sequel in the Friday the 13th series. It's not my favorite, but it comes out of the gate with some kind of weird confidence for a slasher movie. I can't even explain what I'm trying to say here. It's just it feels like it's so well executed that I still can't put in words how great of a slasher movie it is. It's confident. It wastes no time getting to the bare bones of the story. The quick recap at the beginning is fantastic. Ted White's Jason is scary and menacing than anything we've seen him in before. The look of Jason's fantastic, both in the mask and out of the mask. The characters, for the first time in the series, as far as I'm concerned, are likable. You care about them. Feldman was a great lead character, if you want to call him his character, a lead character in that movie. The kills were fantastic. The most moody, atmospheric movie in the series up to that point. Dude, Manfredini's score kicked fucking ass in that movie. That movie is just so bleak and so relentless and so unforgiving. And it just comes out of the gate with this confidence that most slasher movies don't have. Like Jason Lives has that same kind of confidence. It's not afraid to be what it is. But whereas Jason Lives and some of the further films past that were hokey and comedic on purpose, this movie is not afraid to be dark, gritty, serious, fast-paced, to the point, and just, again, relentless in its desire to scare you and all that stuff. I can't say enough good things about the final chapter, and I'm never going to be able to put into words correctly what I'm trying to say as far as its confidence. It's so different of a beast in the first three films, and it doesn't care. Yeah. It almost like it doesn't need those movies at all. You know what I mean?
Brandon, with all that being said, Brandon, you spelled it out perfectly. That's why Final Chapter is the absolute one of the greatest slasher films of all time. This is my crystal. What is it, Brandon? Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull. Yeah, it's beyond a 10. A masterpiece is 10 out of 10. Crystal Skull is beyond that.
Dude, so. This is the intensity of Jason in Final Chapter is undeniable. Like, he is the one that, like, if he's gonna fuck you up, there's no denying it. And it's not gonna be pretty. He's not gonna bend you like a pretzel. He's not gonna dump you in a bucket. He's gonna just fuck you up.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And then he's gonna hang you up on display for everybody else to find. I agree with you. That movie is a Crystal Skull for me as well. It's one of the few Crystal Skulls in the franchise, as far as I'm concerned. It's perfect.
So
My
you-
only gripe is I wish it was half an hour longer. That's my only gripe
Really?
about the movie. I feel like it's over so quickly, which is a good sign because it never gets boring and you still feel fulfilled. But I wish it was like 25, 30 minutes longer. And I wish Crispin Glover had not been killed off. I think his character was fucking hilarious.
Right.
And I would like to have seen him carry on. Fuck Tommy Jarvis. Give us more of that guy. That would
I
have been fucking
agree.
sweet.
I hope everybody's having a good time tonight with us. Brandon, I'm gonna have to go get my other beer up here in a second, but we have 150 people in here. I would really love it if you would like and subscribe. Please drop a like. Tomorrow's my anniversary, guys. Brandon, do we have 100 likes?
I don't know where the fuck I am. Hold on a second.
I need to know if we have 100 likes. It's my anniversary tomorrow, guys. I'm off the internet tomorrow, so I need to know we've made it.
We have 85 likes, guys. Come on.
We have 151 people in here. Come on, we can get 100 likes. Brandon, while we do that, how about this really quick, Brandon? We do have merch available.
Happy Halloween from your friends here at Planet Dirty. Available now for a limited time only is the Butterman approved Planet Dirty Halloween edition t-shirt. This t-shirt is certified to flip your lunch tray. Order now. Planet Dirty. They're nuts.
I love it.
All right, Brandon. So we're gonna move on. Thank you guys. Yes, tomorrow's my anniversary. I've been married 6 years. Brandon, I can't believe it's been 6 years since I've been married, dude. It's crazy. I've been with
insane.
Sydney a long time though.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I've been married 6 years is nuts. You know?
Yeah. That's awesome. Happy anniversary in advance.
Thank you. Big Case Movies and Games for the $5 super chat. Thank you. When I was a kid, my brother rented Part 9. We watched it during the nude shaving scene. My dad walked in and saw the TV and just turned around and left. He did the right thing. Oh man, Brad, we're gonna take an intermission because you actually have something you want to talk about tonight.
Oh yeah, the YouTube situation. Let's talk about that. So,
Well, that and you're selling something.
oh yes, I'll talk about the good stuff first. So
Whatever you
I
want
have
to do, go ahead.
in ode to Friday the 13th. I make hockey masks and masks on the side from time to time. I had a bunch of blanks that I ordered last summer with chevrons and strap kits and all that stuff. I put together 7 masks in the last 2 or 3 days. They're not of the quality of the stuff I usually make because some of the straps and the rivets and stuff are of lesser quality than stuff I'm used to. No offense to the company I got them from. I think they were sort of new still last year. I'm sure they're making better stuff now. But they really did turn out well considering the materials, and I haven't done these in a while. So I have all these for sale right now. If you guys are interested in buying one, they're one of a kind. I have one of each right now. I'm really willing to take offers. Just DM me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to do. And I'll go through them real quick, Kristen, if you don't mind. So we have a part 3. Here's a part 3 Hawk. A little bit dirty,
Gorgeous.
but pretty clean. Thank you. Thank you.
It looks heavy.
Proper strapping. It's decently heavy. It's 0.125 ABS plastic, so it's decent. I mean, you couldn't use this for hockey. A puck would smash this, but it's decent. It's not as heavy as the resin masks that NECA makes, but it's decent. But it's a big mask. It's a big mask, you know.
You try it on, dude. You look dynamite.
So if you buy one of these masks, guys, you can wear a mask that Dirty Butter has worn. I'll lick the inside for you guys just to get all good and moist. But,
oh, what else we got,
up,
B?
we have a part 4, and Christian, correct me if I'm taking too long here.
No.
Part 4?
This is all. I'm enjoying this because you made all these.
I did. Yep.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. I had a bottle of JDF prop blood that I love using for blood on these masks, but I couldn't find it, so I had to make do with paint. It still looks good considering, but the fake blood I use usually looks better. And these are signed. You just can't really see them because they're in pencil. But yeah, there's a part 4.
Well, the splatter around it, the splatter around the cut looks so good. Like it really looks like it's stained on. You
I
know,
appreciate
how
it.
do you
Yeah.
do that?
I usually like to paint these. I usually get the paint jobs done and then I lacquer them. So this was painted and then lacquered over. And for this one, I put the blood atop last. So the blood is sort of sitting on top of the lacquer. So I think it gives it a weird kind of effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That looks
moving on.
dynamite.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have, I'll try to go in order here. We have a Roy Burns part 5. This is my favorite mask of this run. I just fucking love it, dude.
Brenda, this is the only mask when I buy I'm very, very picky about because I need to see that little, and I see it. I didn't know that you had this. I need to see that little bit of blue at the top,
Oh, that too.
and I
Yep.
need to see the chevrons up high and slightly uneven.
Yep. There you got it. And don't forget about the little decal that's missing. Technically, that's there in the movie. This one turned out a little bit it's too prominent here.
Whoa, wait up. You're saying that there was a chevron on part 5, but you only see the outline of it?
Oh yeah, on Roy Burns's mask, you can tell that there was a chevron here they peeled off. That's in the movie. You can look at it on stills, but it's a little bit too prominent on this one I made. So I'm not a fan of that, but yeah.
Put
So
that one
there's
on. Let me see how that one looks. Oh, Brandon, you're a part 5. I can tell you just look like a part 5. That's a nice big mask because you got a big head, huh?
Yeah, kind of. I do love the way I didn't try this one on. The part 4 looks great too, though. I mean, it's just fucking sweet.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of got it's got that tight curl on the sides too. It's solid. Brandon, that kind of looks like the dream sequence mask from part 5 too, which that's probably very close, right, to the part 4 mask. You know what I'm talking about? The dream sequence?
Yeah, the part 5 mask that Jason is wearing in part 5 for the delusions, I guess you could call them. I don't have that mask. I think it is a different model than the part 4 mask because the part 3 and 4 mask, god damn it. There we go. It's very oval shaped. You know what I mean? It's very long. Whereas the part 5 Roy mask is very kind of like it's a rounder. The part 5 Delusion Jason mask, I think it was more of a Roy Burns shape than it was the original part 4 shape. Would you agree?
Right. I probably so. I'd have to watch it again, but you're probably right.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, what's next? You got a part 6?
Yeah, part 6.
Dude, that's money.
Also got one up on the wall that I made a couple years ago right here.
That one's a lot darker.
Yeah, this one's darker. This one's lighter. It's still the proper color. The blaring white light is not helping. This is sort of back in shadow.
Yeah.
But this
that's
is the
solid, man.
You like that? Yeah.
It's probably the
dirty.
best one so far. It looks identical to the movie.
Yeah. This one's larger because the leather straps on these don't adjust. So you really need to put this over a zombie form or have a really big head to make this fit. If you just put this on naked, it's going to be too big.
Wait up, put
So you got to have your zombie underhood for this to work, but that's it. That's accurate straps and everything.
Now, Brandon, this is something I learned being in the Friday the 13th collector world. The fans demand the proper straps. Is that the proper straps?
Yep. And these are the proper straps. I'd say 90% of these masks here, the straps are 75 to 80% because there are some things that I won't bring up here, but some things I'm like, this is not totally accurate, guys. That's why I'm like, I'm not going to charge as much for these as I would usually do it because the materials themselves, some of them are a little bit like, they look good, but I'm not going to point them out directly, but some of the stuff on these masks, I'm like, it looks good, but some of it's a close 75%, 80% Christian. I will say that.
Oh, yeah, they look great. I mean, so far, as great as all, something about that part. Oh, shit. Never mind. Now, this thing looks like it was buried.
Yeah.
Now, Brandon, how similar was the part 7 straps to the part 6 straps in the movie?
I guess you could say they were decently similar. Both leather. The straps in the 7 mask, you can't really tell here, but the straps were way thicker on the 7 mask, way beefier. Both leather. Obviously, this one has black straps and gold rivets. But yeah, I mean, and also the back is just a straight rivet on the through line. It doesn't have this back shield thing on the back.
Yeah.
So I really do like the changes of straps on those movies. It lends a good I don't know, it used to bother me the way Jason's look changed and made no sense, but now I think it's endearing. I like having all these weird
But
looks.
there's an
So, yeah, that's part
individuality to
7.
all of it. Yeah.
It does. This one's also too big. You got to have an under mask on it because it's way too fucking big. So, but the straps are accurately sized, but you just have to wear an under mask, otherwise it won't work. Almost to the end. We have a part 8.
Sam Adams, Ryan, what's up, man? Part 8. Hold on, Brandon, because I'm picky about part 8 masks. Now the cut on the part 8 mask has to be a little smaller.
That's right.
It looks like it is.
It is smaller because it only goes to the second hole.
Smaller too.
The chevrons are smaller,
Yeah.
and what I hated about doing this weekend is the company that I ordered these from last year. Great company. I'm not going to say who they were. I'm not going to say anything bad about them. They were new at the time, I think. They're still in business. I will order from them again. When I bought all these kits, they didn't send my part 8 chevrons, and I just found that out this weekend. So I had to paint these on. I had to put the tape down as good as I could, as accurate as I could, and put the red paint on. Yeah, when I release my videos tomorrow, because I have making of videos of all these coming out tomorrow. Every single mask I did this weekend, you'll see me painting these on. So it's pretty close, not perfect, but this has the gold, has a little bit of silver on the sides, a little bit of the green. Yeah, the paint's bubbled up a little bit here.
Brandon, I feel there's supposed to be a little bit of a divot on the right cheek, and I think I can see it on the mask. That's the other side, like a divot. Other side, I'm sorry. Like if you're like a little bit higher, like face the mask forward, people will see what I'm talking about. Okay,
right,
yeah, like right in front of those 2 dots. Yeah, right in front of those. Yeah, you got, and it looks like a little divot. That,
yeah, it's
like
a gully
in the movie.
It's a gully.
A gully.
Yep.
Yeah. What now?
It totally is. Yeah.
Do you think that was on purpose when they vacuum formed that mask, or do you think it just kind of came out like that?
I know that this model has lineage to one of the molds from the movie back in the day. I'm not sure how much lineage it actually has, what generation, but I'm assuming when they made this clay sculpt in the movie and then made the buck from that and stuff, I'm assuming the clay was probably indented or something at the time, or the buck they made got damaged because it's kind of a weird indentation to have randomly. So I think the clay probably just wasn't smoothed out or something. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. The part 8 mask is one of my favorite masks.
That's your favorite mask? Yeah.
I'm not really sure, dude, because the part 6 Jason is my iconic Jason, and so is the mask, and so is the movie. But like I said before, this is the scariest Jason of the franchise for sure. So it's hard to say. But I mean, obviously, I love the fucking part 8 mask. So I love the straps too. The straps are my favorite in the series for part 8. Big beefy leather straps with the gold.
So all these are for sale.
All these for sale. I got one more, which is the V1 Jason Goes to Hell.
Jason Goes Straight to Hell. Now that looks nice and glossy too.
Yeah, I got a V2 that I didn't do this weekend because I don't have time. But yeah.
Now those are the right straps too. I can tell.
Oh yeah.
That big brown. One chevron, kind of like a Jason Goes to Hell, but a little bit of a fatter nose, chevron in the top.
Yeah, I think the mask in Jason Goes to Hell is the closest to the part 7 mask out of everything else, I think.
That's solid. So Brandon, where can they, if they want to buy it from you, where can they go to talk to you, make an offer? What are you asking? All that for the mask.
Facebook, Instagram,
we're
TikTok.
Gonna sell some masks tonight.
Yeah, all my handles are on YouTube. You can contact me on YouTube, I guess, if you wanted to. And I'll work with you. I'm doing PayPal only. You can do it goods and services. That's fine. PayPal only is the easiest thing to do. Gets the money right away. I'll send the masks out the next day. I'm leaving on the 20th. So if you want your mask before Halloween, order them before the 19th so I can get them in the mail. I only have 7 of these too, guys. So if you want one,
we got
yeah, I'll work with you on price. Right now they're about $125 each, but like I said, make me an offer. I'm entertaining everything right now because, like I said, I'm not 100% satisfied with the materials and how they turned out. So I'm not going to charge what I usually charge for these.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm in a good mood, kind of. So
They look great.
let me know,
Yeah.
people.
Brandon, I'm going to go grab my other
Thank you.
beer. I'm going to go grab my other beer, Brandon. Tell everybody what happened. Tell everybody what happened with you on YouTube today. Get it started. I'm going to go grab my other
Okay.
beer. And then after you tell everybody what happened to you on YouTube today, we're going to continue the series. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Okay, so this morning I woke up to YouTube, business as usual, monetized, new videos, stuff scheduled out for tomorrow, all that good stuff. Then around 10, 11 a.m. Eastern, I got an email from YouTube saying you've been demonetized. Your whole channel's been demonetized as far as Tabata Vision is concerned because of reused content and stuff like that. And I looked it up, and apparently a lot of people are having the same issue. I guess it falls into the realm of like using content on other platforms and uploading it here, using content without permission, all this weird stuff. And it makes no sense because none of my stuff really falls in that category. A lot of my stuff falls under fair use because I'm not just uploading content. I am making movie reviews, commentaries, video essays, which happen to use video clips of movies and stuff like that. So since I'm monetized, I go into that knowing that I'm going to fight it for fair use because it legally falls into the bounds of fair use because it's transformative use. You're not just posting clips from the movie, stuff like that. But I'm aware that the studios that be or the license holders that be could say, we're not going to allow you to monetize this. We don't give a shit about your fair use claims. Fuck that. But we're going to monetize it on our behalf. You're not going to get any proceeds, but we're going to allow it to be on your channel. I'm fine with that. There's a ton of stuff on my channel that I like that's not monetized because it either was the claim was reinstated after I fought it for fair use or I just let it go. But I do fight them every time, usually. But the point I'm trying to make here, my long-winded point is my account's in good standing, in the green. There's no copyright strikes. There's nothing like that. All the claims that are on my videos are either resolved where they're getting money from it and I'm not, or we're sharing revenue, or I'm monetized because they saw that it did fall under fair use. So there's no people always say it's because you use movie clips and all this stuff. That might be true, but there's no reason for it because, like I said, everything is handled. The studios are apparently happy. I'm happy. There's not like ongoing strikes and copyright claims. Everything's been resolved. And I don't reuse content. Sometimes I'll post stuff I make like on CapCut or TikTok to YouTube, shorts and stuff, but never full videos.
Right.
So it's really bizarre to me that this is even happening. And the fact that they don't even give you some kind of a warning or tell you specifically what videos are the problem, they just demonetize and deplatform you completely and then say you have to make an appeal video. So what I have to do is, long story short, my ass, very, very long story. Now, tonight, after we're done, I have to make a video appeal reply, and I have to upload it to YouTube and send it to them tomorrow. When I send it to them tomorrow, they're going to take 14 business days to come up with an answer, either re-platform me or keep me demonetized. 14 business days. So I'm already kicked out of October and all the October videos I got coming out. I'm just not getting monetized for it, which sucks. If I choose not to do the appeal or it gets rejected in 14 days, I have to wait till January 24th to reapply again. If that's rejected, I may not be able to monetize ever again, no matter what, because that'll be 2 attempts. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Still don't know the explicit reason for the demonetization yet. All I know for sure is that it's an electronically checked system. It's not a person flagging the channel or anything like before, like that asshole from last month. It's an electronically flagged system. And that's all she could really tell me. So I have to make the appeal, go through the motions. And what really pisses me off is I have my other channel, thankfully, Brandon Tabata, which has been monetized for probably a decade or more now.
Yeah.
Good chunk of change at the end of the month coming to me because of that. But this was going to go towards the vacation fund to help out with that. And because that video blew up, and they shared revenue with me, I was making a big chunk of change, not a huge chunk, but a big enough to be like, oh, that's cool. And since they've taken the monetization away today, my AdSense account is like $100 and change less than it was before they froze it. So I'm pretty sure they froze my funds from Tabata Vision, at least the last 14 days of it, because of this bullshit, which really pisses me off because that's not fair. You know, that's really not fair. So yeah, sorry guys, really long-winded explanation, but that's where I am right now. So that's where I am right now.
I think it'll be all right, Brandon. I think it's gonna be all right, Brandon. You're just gonna have to play their stupid game.
Yeah.
You know.
And yeah, so.
But let's have some fun tonight.
Yep.
Let's keep it rolling, B.
Christian,
Next
you are
up,
freezing up a little bit.
the following year. Okay, hold on. Let me refresh my page. One second.
Uh-oh. We're getting the ring of death. Thanks, everybody, for the support. I see you guys in the comments. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I appreciate the backup. It is a very frustrating situation. Very, very frustrating. Oh.
I'm back.
And he's
I'm
back. He's back.
All right, Brady. Let's see if we can keep this shit rolling.
Irish
Brandon,
Knight
you gonna
says
be
he's
all right,
buying
man.
them all.
Just play their stupid game, man.
I'm gonna make that video
he
in good
does.
motions too. Yeah. Irish Knight, get at me. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, get it. I don't mean to cut it off. Yeah, reach out to him, dude. Reach out to him. Sell those masks,
Oh,
Brandon.
I will for sure. Yeah, I will
Brandon,
for sure.
Part 5. Yeah. We take a bit down. 21,900,000.
Steep drop.
But how do you feel about Part 5?
I fucking love Part 5. I think it's a unapologetic masterpiece. I think it's a fantastic, because here's the deal. Part 4, the final chapter, did not lie. The final chapter was the final chapter. In all intents and purposes, it was the end of the series. Jason was dead. He was killed. That was the end of the story. Calling Part 5 a new beginning is not a lie. It's the truth. It was supposed to be a new beginning, which technically it was because it came after 4, and it started things anew. And it sort of acknowledges in tongue-in-cheek way that, you know, we sort of messed up by saying the final chapter, but here we go again. On those 2 points, I love the film. The cast is good. The characters are hilariously weird. It's a zany film. It's a weird film. It's like a big cartoon fest. Especially Ethel and Junior. I think their name is, right? Ethel and Junior. Fantastic characters. The halfway house setting is fantastic. The fact that everything goes down because of a fucking chocolate bar is hilarious to me. Getting chopped up by suicide from Return of the Living Dead is great. Always a good thing.
Yeah.
I think Roy Burns is a fantastic slasher villain. Underrated. Super underrated. The Mask kicks fucking ass. The fact that they bring back the whodunit storyline again is awesome. But what's even better about that is you don't only get the whodunit storyline. They also give you 3 fake out options throughout the movie to try and mess with you and make you think it's somebody it isn't. Like, it's not just like they show you Roy Burns and they're like, oh, it's probably this guy. They show you Roy Burns, give that look to the other paramedics. So like, this guy's probably the killer. But you think it's a fake out because it's so literal in the film. They make you think it's Tommy going crazy, but that seems too literal too. And then they make you think it could be this asshole that just chopped this guy up with an axe. It could very well be Suicide from Return of the Living Dead, who's the killer. So there's 3 fake outs throughout the whole film where it could be any one of these 3 guys. It's not like it's just, oh, it's Roy Burns, you know? So I love that about the film. And Tommy Solis, look at that. That's a killer bust. Yeah, killer.
But see, I like your mask. I like your mask that you made better. It's a little bit wider, I feel. I like this mask a lot. But
Is that Devil's
yeah,
Latex?
you see, I like yours better. I feel like yours is a little bit close. No, this is the Jeremy Bohr model.
Mm,
This is from like 2008. This is
Nice.
old school, Brandon.
it's a good piece.
Jeremy Bohr is good. Look at the.
Yeah. That's real
You know.
good.
It's kind of creepy, dude. Like he really is a man with no life in his eyes. You know.
I don't see how people, dude. I don't.
But I
That's a
always like
killer
to
bust.
set it up, Brandon. When I set him up, yeah, I'll creep him. I'll set it up to where you can just. I don't set it up like this. I set it up to where you can just barely see the eyes. You know, just
Yeah.
barely. That's the way I like to set him up. So I love him.
Where do you stand on part 5, Christian? Because I think part 5 is unapologetic, and it knows exactly what it is, and it's sleazy and dirty, and just fucking hardcore in the best way. I really don't see how people don't like part 5. I get you want Jason back, but you can't tell me part 5 wasn't at least an admirable attempt to carry the franchise forward without Jason Voorhees. You know?
So yeah, I want to answer Dave real quick. They actually do have the white stripes, Dave. It's dark in here. I kind of like it a little bit moodier when I do these shows as opposed to bright lights now. So that's why I have the lights down. Brandon, I think part 5 is truly the definition of an accidental masterpiece. I really do, because part 5 is hysterical, but it's incredibly entertaining. It's just remarkably entertaining from top to bottom. And I think that is to be applauded. I think Reggie the Reckless is just so lovable. I think Tommy is not cringy, but just like, what the fuck is this guy gonna do? Like you almost get mad at how he won't do anything. He won't say anything. But then when he flips the guy in the breakfast room, it's insane. Like he overhead fireman carries him, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's crazy. And then the sleaze factor is insane. Just incredible. The sleaze in part 5. And then there's stuff that doesn't really pan out, and that's okay. There's a scene where the old man goes to the mama's house and he wants a meal, and she just makes him clean chicken shit. It's like, what? You know?
And then he watches
What's
the people
that
have
about?
sex in the woods, and then he dies. It's like, what's happening here? Who is this guy?
Who was he? You know, who was he? But there is a curiosity factor to part 5 that you just can't stop watching.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable, part 5. It's incredibly entertaining. It's rude. You know, the girls make fun of the stuttering guy. She doesn't want to sleep with him.
Right.
It's an accidental masterpiece. It's that simple. I love it. I really do. The dad being a paramedic, seeing his kid and not doing anything in the moment is kind of weird. You know, but there's a certain point where you got to stop thinking about part 5. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to put pen to paper on it, because then it starts to crack at the seams, right? So you can't do that. But in terms of just sheer entertainment, part 5 is unmatched at how entertaining it is. It's unmatched. Yeah. It's viciously entertaining. Viciously entertaining. So to me, part 5 is a solid 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, it's a 10 out of 10 solid. That's the first masterpiece in the series as far as I'm concerned. That's what I rated it to in my review. Spoiler alert. It's I think it's better than parts 1, 2, and 3. I think it's way better than all 3 of those movies for sure. Part 5 is fantastic. Not better than part 4. Not anywhere near close, but better than parts 1, 2, and 3 in my opinion, for sure.
But part 5 is the one that like I would go to if I just need a fix. Where I'm not binging the movies, I just need a fix. 5 is just like, you cannot go wrong with 5.
You can't.
You go to 5, it's all good. You're gonna laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
You know. Let me look up and see what the audience scores were for 5. 8s, 8, 8, 8, 8. Never was a fan of part 5. 8, 8.5, 6. I don't know. Brandon, I guess it's maybe not the most beloved, to be honest with you. I think the average is like a 7 or an 8.
That's commendable. I think it should be closer to a 9 or 10, but that's just me. That is just me.
We did get a $2 super chat from PP Dangler. Great tits in part 5. 8 out of 10. Happy anniversary, man. Thank you, PP Dangler. Oh, shit. All right, Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Lives. Paramount went down a little bit. 19,500,000. Brandon, explain why it went down, but why it didn't. Explain why it went down, but explain why you think the front of the boat didn't sink all the way. Because clearly this is enough for them to be like, holy shit, we're still printing money.
Yeah, I think it was just a sleeper hit, especially now with the cult status. But at the time, I think people were so. They say this in one of the documentaries. I think the quote is people felt so ripped off by 5 that they didn't come back for part 6, which I guess I could understand. Maybe people really were pissed off at that point, sort of like the Halloween 3 effect of the time. But I think it's had such legs because part 6 really is the first, like part 1, 2, 3, and 5. Great movies, but they feel like slasher fare. Part 4 felt like a real movie. Part 6 feels like a movie. I think it's one of the 2 big ride epic movies in the franchise. Great fucking cast. Great actors at that. Terrific atmosphere. Great fucking soundtrack. Manfredini in top form with the full orchestra. The best score in the franchise. The best contemporary soundtrack in the franchise as far as I'm concerned. Really appeals to that summer flair. I think it really appealed to kids at the time more so than parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 did. I would assume so. Because part 6 really does feel like a summer blockbuster, where parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feel like very angry adult films. Part 6 feels like a summer slasher blockbuster. Action-packed, fast-paced, not too big of a runtime. Relentless Jason, great Jason design, the Frankenstein qualities, the supernatural stuff. I think it's all just McLaughlin did such a great fucking job. I do think it's lamentable that it wasn't a smash hit right out the gate. But the staying power part 6 has had is insane to me. And I do think it's maybe not the number 1, but I think it's a lot of people's number 1 in the way that the final chapter is. I feel like it's the final chapter and Jason Lives are probably the 2 most revered entries in the franchise, from my point of view. Obviously, I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but part 6 is a juggernaut, dude. It's an absolute fucking juggernaut of a film.
I would echo a lot of what you just said. For some reason, I didn't love it the first time I saw it. I really couldn't tell you what it was. I don't know, but now I truly think that part 6, like you said it right, it really is to me like the first one that is a legit movie, as opposed, like McLaughlin put it really well. You could look at a lot of the old slashers, the old entries as like quote unquote films, but part 6 really felt like a movie where everybody's like going on a journey, going on a roller coaster ride, and it just works. It works so good, and I think it is so. Really, when you do look back at it, McLaughlin's right, dude. Like, he really did put a lot of meta kind of like seasoning in it for the audience, with the old man looking at the camera, Jason being James Bond in the intro. The intro to part 6, I think, is hands down the greatest of the entire series.
So good. It's so damn good. Also, that's my favorite Jason of the series. Like Kane Hodder. I love Kane Hodder. I think his part 8 version of Jason is the scariest version of Jason in the whole fucking franchise. But CJ Graham as Jason, the look of Jason, he
He
the
nailed
movements
it.
of Jason, like that's my Jason. Like yours is part 3, mine is part 6. Like that's my quintessential Jason for sure. Part 6.
It's
Also the best version of Tommy Jarvis as far as I'm concerned. So
Oh, without question. And then, like, after I became a really big Return of the Living Dead fan, I was like, dude, why would I not love part 6 so much? It's got Tom Matthews in it. And he's great. He's so likable.
Yeah.
And the blonde, his blonde interest, she's like, dude, something about Darcy, the actress in part 6 that's in the Darcy. I forget the actress's last name, but her name is
DeMoss.
Darcy something, I think. She's the. I know this is going to sound weird, but something about the fact that she doesn't take her top off in the movie, having sex, something about that makes her even hotter to me. Like, I don't know what it is, but she is beautiful. She still is too, by the way. Darcy
DeMoss
she was
supposed to be
her name. Yeah,
she was supposed to be in part 5.
Her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they said her boobs weren't big enough.
And Court was Travolta's
that's
nephew,
what they said.
apparently,
That's what the
right?
director said.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yes. Good looking dude, too. Yeah.
Fucking bizarre.
Yeah, I love 6. Brandon, how do you feel about Jason not killing the kids, though, in part 6? Like, I would imagine you're okay with that. Like the scene
I'm
where
okay with
he
it.
walks into the bedroom with the kids.
Yeah, even as when I was a kid watching Jason Live, it's been my favorite movie since his time in remembrance. I even as a kid, him not killing the kids never seemed weird or out of place. It always seemed like he probably wouldn't kill those kids. Because I feel like he probably, in some weird way, he relates to the young kids more than he would the hatred he has for teenagers and young adults and adults, for that matter. I think Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis, being that Tommy Jarvis in Final Chapter was probably 12 or 13 or 14 at the time, and he was trying to attack Jason, that was sort of a different story. But I can't really see Jason wanting to kill 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. It just doesn't seem like he would. For some reason, I don't know why. I might be totally wrong about that. But the fact that he didn't try to kill the kids directly in this movie didn't feel out of place. When he's bending down over the bed to look at the little girl, that's incredibly creepy.
Feel out of place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a creepy shot where he's getting closer and closer and closer. Like, what is he doing? Is he studying her? Is he trying to scare her? He's obviously not trying to kill her. And the fact could be made at the end where he busts through the wall in the cabin that he's trying to kill the kids then, but he's going after Megan. He's not really going after the kids. So I do kind of like that. I think maybe they should have thrown some kind of scene in there just as a joke to where maybe he encounters a kid and like he hands him his teddy bear back or some kind of wink that tells the audience for sure he's okay with this, but not okay with that. You know what I mean? Like maybe that was too far, but something.
Oh, yeah.
My ramble is over.
Yeah. And let me get to this really quick. No, I love it because I know you love this movie. Tales from the Shelf gave $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Happy Friday the 13th, fellas. What's y'all's fave? Well, Brandon's, we're talking about it right now.
Favorite horror movie of all time, favorite slasher, favorite Friday, favorite Jason. It's all here. Favorite soundtrack, it's all here.
Yeah.
It's all here.
My favorite was part 4, Tales from the Shelf, but it's picking a favorite kid for me. I love all these movies, but you know, you're so right, Brandon. And here's the nerdy thing I want to talk about with part 6. And hey, am I still coming in clear? You can hear me and everything?
Yeah. I think we have a sort of delay though. I think we're having a delay.
Is it really
with
bad
each other,
or is it just?
It's not bad, but I think I'm reaching you. I think I'm reaching you way after I'm finishing my sentence. If that makes any sense.
I'll try to keep that in mind and kind of I'll try to keep that in mind and make sure I kind of go a little bit faster just to kind of fix that. And I'll make sure that's even fixed for the next show. But I will say what I was gonna say was this. Here's the nerdy thing I want to talk about with Friday the 13th Part 6. That is a pain in my ass because I can't listen to it on Spotify. I can't listen to it on iTunes or anything. The movie mix of The Man Behind the Mask is clearly better than the record mix. What I mean by that is the Man Behind the Mask that's on Constrictor or the single 7-inch vinyl or the 12-inch single that you got back in the day on vinyl. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The movie mix is far superior. It's got more of like this creepy vibe with like a open sound to it with like a little bit extra like ghostly synth in it. It's a little bit faster, and the chorus doesn't have as much of a bump 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 drive. It's more of a bum 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 bum. It's got a different kind of beat to it. It's vastly superior, but you cannot find it anywhere on the streaming sites. You can only get the record version, and it's bullshit because the movie mix is the far superior version. I just wanted to talk about that because it pisses me off. The demo version that Clay 3613 is talking about turned into the song Trick Bag on Constrictor. Listen to the rock version. He's back. The man behind the mask. That's Trick Bag. That song literally turned into Trick Bag on Constrictor. And Trick Bag's a good song. But the movie mix of Man Behind the Mask, Brandon, I dare say, is the perfect version of that song. But it's hard to find. You got to go on YouTube to listen to it.
Is Constrictor the best Alice Cooper record, in your opinion?
It's a very tough question. Some days
Do you think
I would
it's the
say
most
yes.
iconic one?
No. I really think, you want to know what my honest answer is? Like dead ass? I think it's Hey Stupid.
Yeah.
I really do. Or Poison. Because even though you can look back at $1 Billion Babies, which is literally one of the greatest records ever with Bob, what's the producer's name?
Ezrin?
Bob Ezrin. You could look with Bob Ezrin. You could look at the stuff he did. You could look at School's Out. I don't think School's Out's a great record. I think School's Out is a masterpiece, the song. But the record's not perfect. You can look at the early era, and then you can look at the 80s when he came back after the blackout era. I think if you look at Poison itself, the song is one of the best produced Desmond Child songs. But Hey Stupid captures that Simpsons vibe that was so pop culture in the early 90s. And the lyrics, the sound of the record, it was the tail end of that hair metal sound of the way albums were mixed and stuff. And Feed My Frankenstein, it's so Alice Cooper. I think Hey Stupid is one of the best. But that being said, Brandon, Constrictor was the start of the Kane Roberts era, which was that jacked guitar player he had. And Constrictor is so good, top to bottom. Life and Death of the Party is such a good song. Maybe Constrictor is the best. You might be onto something here. Like if you get me talking about Constrictor, I might tell you it's the best because it really is a great fucking album. I mean, it really is. I don't think it's the best mixed album. They used electronic drums on it, but song wise, it's so fucking good. I really love not Feed My Frankenstein, Teenage Frankenstein. It's a great opener. Yeah. It's a great record. It really is. Life and Death of the Party is one of the best Alice Cooper songs. I actually love it. I'm going to shut up about it because this, you can get me to talk about. This is my hero. I can talk about Alice literally for hours.
Right.
But then again, Brandon, Raise Your Fist and Yell is also a great fucking metal album. Like it really is. With Prince of Darkness on it and everything. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to say today Constrictor is the best.
It's all for full circle, people. It always goes back to Jason Lives, man.
Brandon, what is your score for Jason Lives?
It's a crystal skull for sure. It's beyond a 10 out of 10.
I would say that for me, I would give Jason Lives a perfect 10.
Nice.
Perfect 10.
That's commendable.
A clean 10.
Clean 10.
All right, Brandon, we're moving on. But let's look at something, Brandon. Let's recall the box office of part 6 because this is important. Thank you again, Tales from Michelle, for your super chat. Let me put that away. That way we can see the box office. All right, Brandon. So in part 6, we had 19,500,000, right? Well, let's look at part 7. Part 7 only went down 300,000, Brandon.
Yeah.
We went 19,200,000 in the box office.
I mean, they're still raking in money, you know? It's the way people
It's very
talk about
interesting
part
to me, though.
7's
Like, for
drop
Brand,
off.
think about this. Just really quick, Brand, I'm sorry. People, you're right. I'm sorry, because there's the delay, so I'm not trying to cut you off. But because people say part 7 is a drop off, that's the reason I wanted to talk about the box office, because to me, I call bullshit. And I'm doing a retrospective tomorrow on part 7, because part 7, quite frankly, Brandon, is fucking great. It's
Yeah.
that simple. It's that simple. This is Kane's best outing, in my opinion. He had something to prove. John Carl Buechler had something to prove. This whole movie was, I bet you guys can't make a good movie. In essence, it's a part 7. It's a director who was like, you want me to do a part 7? It's a guy playing Jason that they were like, we don't want you to play. I guess I'm just rambling about. I'm going to get it all out really quick, Brandon. It's a guy playing Jason that the studio was like, you want this shorter guy to play Jason? What was wrong with the last guy? He did great. Everything about it was like, fuck. They're bringing in Carrie, you know? Part 7 to me is great. Brandon, part 7 has the best supporting character in the series to me. And that is Bad News Cruz. I fucking love Terry Kaiser.
Yeah, Terry Kaiser's the fucking man. Absolutely.
I'm just going to get it out really quick, bro. I'm going to finish real quick, then I'm going to hand you the ball. This is Kane's best outing. I love part 8. We're going to get to part 8, of course, because I can't wait for us to just talk all about part 8. This film is a badass slasher. I don't care about... There is warts, clearly, because of that producer bitch. But part 7 has one of the best Jasons ever. Kane is vicious. I think the fact that we're dealing with the zombie Jason, and people are okay with that, but they think that the telekinesis is silly. I think you need to kind of lighten up a little bit, right? I mean, come on, we're talking about a zombie already. And I actually like some of the characters, but the thing is, I don't think any of the characters in part 7 are necessarily great, Brandon, but you put them together, and that's how it's magical. All of those characters together blend to make like a nice smoothie. Like individual, they're like, they're good. Like I like, the bitchy Karen character that they had. I forget her name. I like Tina. Her boyfriend's okay. The guy. There's good, and there's the nerdy guy, the space cadet, whatever his character is, and then there's the two girls that are like, one wants to bang the guy and the other one wants to as well, but she's seen as the ugly duckling. But like as a pack, Brandon, that's how they become magic. Part 7 is fucking good. It is. Yeah. I just think part 7 is fucking good. And I love it. And Bad News Cruz is one of my all-time favorite characters. I'm going to shut up about it, Brandon. But for me, part 7 is a solid 8.5 out of 10. Not as good as 6, but solid as fuck. Solid as fuck.
Yeah. Part 7 is very good.
Really quick, Brandon. Fred Mullen came in, Brandon, and he gave us this beautiful additive score to the film. And he literally is the sound of Friday the 13th to me as much as Harry is. So I'm going to shut up about it. I'm going to pass you the ball. But part 7, I love Manfred E. Brandon, that dun 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 dun. Are you kidding me? That sounds like Jason. I love part 7. I will not take anything, and I will not take any bullshit on this. Part 7 is magic. It's an 8.5 out of 10. I'm going to shut up about it. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, part 7 is a great fucking movie. It's a great slasher film. I love the heavy supernatural influence, the telekinesis. Jason's look is fantastic. Tina's a great final girl. Bad News Cruz is a great sub-villain. Nick's a pretty good, co-hero. The rest of the cast I find to be very weird, abstract, almost forgettable, but the core 3 or 4 are great, including Kane Hodder. I love the fucking vicious, angry, rage Jason we're introduced to in this movie, because Kane Hodder really brings a vicious anger to the role that wasn't really there before. As much as I liked CJ Graham, Kane Hodder's Jason is just angry, violent. He's a scary force. Like if he's coming after you, you feel like you're not going to get away from him. I think the way Crystal Lake and the woods look dead, cold, and dry because they shot it in winter, obviously in Alabama. It's such a good look for the film. The forest is bleak, leafless, brown. It's fantastic. The effects are great. Buechler was fucking on point with the special effects. Great directing job too. I mean, New Blood. I feel like the New Blood, growing up especially, it was a lot of kids' favorite movie growing up, which is weird too. I'm not sure why that was. It's still one of my favorites in the franchise. It's nowhere near part 4 or 6, but it's up there. As far as Fred Mullen is concerned, I don't really have an issue with his music. I just don't, in comparison to Manfredini's music, I just don't think it stacks up. I think it's hilarious also that a lot of cues from part 6 were reused in this movie. Like on the soundtrack, it says music by Harry Manfredini and Fred Mullen, but like Manfredini did not come back for this movie. They just reused old score. You know, it was really Fred Mullen's bag.
Right.
But I do think, we'll get to this later, but Fred Mullen, I do think he had a chance to shine well in the following movie, which we'll get to soon. But yeah, the New Blood is great. And let's get this real quick.
Yeah.
Unmasked Jason.
Good.
The first time I saw that shit in this movie, I was young, like 5, 6, 7-ish. I was taken aback. He looked fucking scary. When that mask comes off and he has that, like, his mouth opens up like he's shocked that she just ripped his mask off. He looks fucking frightening in this movie. I don't care what people say. He does not look like a frog. He is scary looking in this movie. Great fucking movie.
It's such a good look. It's incredible. The only thing, Brandon, like I can forgive some of the MPAA bullshit that happened, but the one thing I can't forgive, Brandon, this is why it's an 8.5 out of 10 instead of a 9.5 out of 10, as silly as it sounds, the dad should have looked decrepit when he came out of the water. There's really no excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still not really sure what that was supposed to be. Like whether he looks how he does in the movie with just straight makeup or he actually is a specter. She's telekinetic. I know she has like telepathic tendencies too, right? Because she can kind of communicate with Jason at the bottom of the lake and sense that he's there. So it's not just telekinesis, but like, did she materialize a ghost? Were they trying to imply that his body was still down in the lake? Like, what was that really supposed to be? You know what I mean? Like it's even that feels a little bit out of place as far as the point of him being in the lake and dragging Jason down. Like, what the fuck is that really supposed to be?
It's like they would have got his body out of the water and buried his ass.
Yeah.
You know, before. But Brandon, here's the thing I want to talk about with Fred Mullen. Go ahead, give me your score real quick. Because Brandon, I was looking at the chat. Honestly, the average score for Jason for the New Blood, Brandon, looks like a 6.5 or 7 out of 10. There are some 10s, but it does not look like people are as high on part 7 as near as they are in part 6.
There's something else I'm going to bring up after you bring up the Fred Mullen thing about part 7, but I will say part 7 for me is a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10. It's the first masterpiece since A New Beginning. It's not a crystal skull like part 4 or 6, but it's right fucking up there. And it's a better masterpiece, I think, probably than part 5, but it's still a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10, no more, no less. That's where I'm leaving it.
Fair enough. And with that, I wanted to say before we move on. So, like I said, I think the average, I gave it an 8.5. Brandon gave it a perfect 10. And the average score, Brandon, was probably a 6.5 or a 7 based on it, whatever. Like I said, because there's 10s, there's a lot of 6.5s and 7s, Brandon, but there's also some 4s and 5s, which is interesting to me. Some people say there's not enough locations or it feels rushed. But like, look, John Flesher, what's up, Johnny? He says 7's his favorite.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of a mixed bag, but the average I would say is a 6. I'll call the average a 7. You know, but Brandon, before we move on to Jason Takes Manhattan, did you know that Friday the 13th? Did you ever see Friday the 13th, the TV show?
I have not.
Well, let me tell you something, Brandon. Do you want to know who did the score for the TV show?
Fred Mullen.
Fred Mullen. Here's the vinyl. He did this, and Brandon, it's a good score. It's actually really creepy. It's really creepy. And if people aren't following Radio CHH on YouTube, please go subscribe because I actually ripped the score, the main theme for the show on there, and I did a vinyl
That's
rip
right.
of the main theme on there. It's really good. It's creepy. It's creepy, well-written music, and I think Fred is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, so
Before
it's
you move
time.
on
This is it, Brent. Go ahead.
about
Go ahead,
part
go ahead,
7,
go
there's
ahead.
one more thing I got to say that I don't think it gets enough credit for part 7. Part 7 does such a good job at being this very bleak, very gritty, very downbeat, very serious and mean-spirited slasher movie. Like part 6 was fun, comedic, and there's goofy stuff on display in part 7, no doubt. There's certain characters that are just goofy. But
Yeah.
part 7 has this relentlessly serious atmosphere to it that it feels like if you're in this isolated Crystal Lake version in this movie, you're not going to be able to leave there alive. It is, there's something so there's a loss of hope sensibility about part 7 from the moment you start. The flashback at the beginning, unlike part 4, it makes all the other movies feel so much more darker and more serious than they actually are, because the way the music is incorporated and the voiceover by Crazy Ralph. It's there's a fucking serious, gritty bleakness to part 7 that I think is really overlooked. And I really think that's probably why a lot of people get turned off by part 7, because it's so downbeat and so serious. Unlike the fun-natured spirit of part 6, part 7 is so damn bleak. It's almost more bleak than part 4, you know, as far as tone goes. That's it.
Yeah. It rides a fine line for sure. So it's time for somewhat of a main event, Brandon. I know people love. There's a variety of opinions rather on the next film, Brandon. But let's talk about it. Brandon, the next film had the biggest budget of any Friday the 13th film. There isn't an actual number put out there, but the speculation is that the next film, Part 8, cost around $5 to $5.5 million to make. So keep that in mind. Let's look back at the Part 7 budget. I mean, the Part 7 box office was $19 million. And that was probably against a $2.5 million budget, right? So we're printing money still. Brandon, the next film, Jason Takes Manhattan, cost around $5.5 million box office.
Oof.
We're looking at $14,300,000, give or take. So obviously, Brandon, the wheels are starting to fall off here, Brandon. But here's what I want to ask you before we get into your thoughts on the movie and the chat's thoughts on the movie, because I know a lot of people find Part 8 endearing and fun and they love it. But Brandon, did the wheels fall off because people were burnt out on Jason, or did the wheels fall off because of the bad word of mouth? In your opinion?
I think the wheels were falling off because the producers thought the wheels were falling off. $14 million gross against a $5 million budget is not great, but it's still double the budget.
It's not the
They're
end of
still
the world.
printing money. Yeah, they're still printing money. There's still life in the series. There's still room for course correction. Matter of fact, if you're still making that much revenue off of the 8th fucking installment, you should be counting your blessings, not treating it like the redheaded stepchild of the series. You know what I mean? Like, I think the producers, Frank Mancuso Jr. was a journeyman, did a journeyman's job leading that franchise. I don't think he's to blame, but I do think he was under a lot of pressure by other producers and other executives in the studio, probably including his dad, to get rid of it after this movie, which is probably a bad choice, because I feel like if they had kept making these, they would have still been printing money well into the 90s if they had kept pumping them out and increasing the quality, going back to crystal and all that stuff. I think they were their biggest enemy, because Part 8 was not really that bad. Yeah.
Brandon, it's one of those things. I'll say this. The opening of Jason Takes Manhattan with that song is probably some of the most it invokes emotions from us as horror fans. I don't think there's any other movie that can evoke this emotion from us the way that intro with that toasted vein font in New York, Vancouver, whatever you want to call it. But you see Times Square and you see that Jason Takes Manhattan hit, and that song, what, Brandon, that song, it's not an anthem per se. It's not any sort of ballad, but I guess it kind of is an anthem. The Darkest Side of the Night kind of is an anthem. You know,
It's a
when
fucking
horror
statement.
fans
That's what
hear
it is.
it is a statement. When horror fans hear The Darkest Side of the Night, it's, if the song was playing right now in my head, Brandon, I'd say the movie's a perfect 10. That song is the sound of Friday the 13th to me as much as anything else. And this is why I say thank God Fred Mullen came into the fray, because he gave us that song. That's him. It's incredible. And Brandon, let me ask you this, Brandon. Does the song hit differently when you hear it at the end of the movie as opposed to when you hear it in the beginning of the movie? In the soul, does it hit you differently?
Weird. It does, and it's going to be different for you than it is for me. When you hear it the first time in the movie, in the intro, there's a really big sense of foreboding, really intense atmosphere with it. The city's fucking alive with treachery and dread in those opening credits. At the end, when they're walking back into Times Square and that Metropolis song comes on again, it's sort of like a warm welcome back to the real world.
It sounds happier
after Jason's vanquished. Like, the streets are clean. It's okay now. The song feels different, even though it's the same fucking song. It's bizarre. That's the power of movies, man.
It's incredible.
It rocks my world for sure.
Brandon, it is.
It flips your fucking lunch tray.
Because of that, Brandon, I'd have to give Jason Takes Manhattan a higher score at this moment in time in a personal level than part 7. For all the warts, for all the silliness, Brandon, part 8 does something to the soul of horror fans that no other Friday film I think can do, and that's just make us feel good. Mm-hmm. It's so fun to watch. Jason looks like a fucking beast in this movie.
Yep.
Especially in the subway. The contrast of like the bright subway with him slimy and dark, it's visually fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the shot of just him kicking over the. It's like this. I asked you this question earlier. Is Jason better when he's just as much of a threat to the audience as he is to the characters? Or is Jason better when he winks to the audience? I think there's an argument for both sides.
Well, like I said, I love the winking to the audience, Jason. We're in on the joke with him. I think it's fucking awesome. But like I've said before, this is the only version of the character that really frightens me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the costume. Maybe it's Kane Hodder's mannerisms. But this is the one version of Jason I feel like you absolutely cannot get away from no matter what. It's not even because of the teleportation crap where he's in a building and then he's on the ground, whatever's going on here. But yeah, there's just something very unbeatable about Jason in Jason Takes Manhattan. I think the fucking boat scenes location is fantastic. Very creepy, very claustrophobic. I don't care what was shot in Vancouver, what was shot in New York City. I love the gritty fucking city scenes in Jason Takes Manhattan, especially the giant subway system, the giant sewer system and the back alleyways. Fantastic atmosphere. If anything, even if you hate the narrative, the movie is a visual fucking treat on every level.
It is. The
lighting, the cinematography, fantastic. And there's one more thing I really want to point out here. It's where they're on the boat still. I brought this up to you in the chat the other day. There's a line where the Crazy Ralph kind of deckhand goes into the cabin. And he's telling them, look, Jason's come down the river and he's gotten on board. There's a look they cut to from Julius where he's looking at the deckhand telling the story. And there's this really intense look of fear on his face. His buddies too, as they realize that there's some fucking creature on this boat with him knocking people off. It's a small moment, but it's silent. And there's a really hardcore intensity that you could cut with a knife. And I feel like it's downplayed and overlooked. But when I watched it the other day, I was like, that is so intense and such a brief thing that they now realize that this fucking thing is on the same boat as they are and they're out the ocean. Like there's an intensity there that I feel like is really overlooked. And they should have played more into that aspect of it. Just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. I wanted to ask you something about the ending of the film, Brandon, because this is where the fans kind of have their own idea. Now, the director claims the ending of the film was simply his way of being like, they're telling me they're not going to make any more, but I know they will. So let me try to end it in a way that they really can't make any more. That was Rob Heaton's words. I look at the ending of the film as almost Rennie is seeing the Jason that pulled her under the water when she was a kid at the end.
Exactly. She was hallucinating. Jason was not an actual little. I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a minute. Okay. Jason did not revert back into a fucking child at the end of the movie. I don't care what Rob Heaton says. God love him. Great director. I don't care what he says or what they showed us on screen. I think they made it more confusing than it needed to be. They shouldn't have even shot that. I think Jason fell apart and was washed back into the depths of the sewers as we saw him happen in the film. I think that was Rennie's final hallucination, signaling to the audience that Jason's no longer a threat. She's conquered her fear because he's dead. She's seeing the little boy dead because that signals to her that like her delusions are over now. The threat is gone.
Right.
You can rest easy now. I don't think they should have shot it because it's confusing and it's led to 35 years of controversy. But he was not a fucking kid. That's got to be a delusion. I think when they show Sean's reaction, he's seeing the hockey mask floating and maybe some remnants of Jason floating in the water. He's not seeing a little kid. That's too hokey, even for a Friday film. That's just too far. I think he's burned and bloated and Jason goes to hell for a reason. That's what I'm going to say about it. So,
with that being said, Brandon, do you think in that line of thinking, the ending of part 8 is a good ending? Is Jason getting washed away in toxic waste? I mean, he's a zombie killer. I mean, what else? How else do you get rid of him?
I think it's a good ending because upon rewatching it again, you really do see him fucking falling apart. His flesh is peeling off. His neck's coming apart as he falls down into the water.
He's in pain.
Yeah, so I really feel like the delusion was too far, but I think the intention was that he disintegrated in the water. That's what I think the intention was. I also think that it was an easy way to say he could come back still because we didn't see him dissolve, So I do think it was a good ending. I think it would have been cool if they had had some kind of a post-credit scene all those years ago that showed maybe a hand reach for the hockey mask and pull it up and then cut to black. Something like that. A wink at the audience would have been cool. But then at the same time, I wouldn't change a fucking thing about the movie because then it wouldn't be the movie we love and endear. So I don't know.
Brandon, talking about this film, I'm going to go 9.5 out of 10. I'm changing.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I'm a 10 out of 10 on this one. It's a solid masterpiece for me. Just like part 7, just like part 5. Not Crystal. I almost gave it a Crystal Skull in my rankings tomorrow. I'm like, no, it's not quite 4 or 6, but it's fucking close. It's closer than New Blood or New Beginning for me.
Nightmare Film says part 8 is a 10 out of 10. The music, the New York atmosphere, Jason's design, the kill scenes are good. Just overall a great movie.
Agreed.
Brandon, we're moving on. Brandon.
Right.
It's 1993. All right. Jason has a new home. Friday the 13th doesn't have a new home, but Jason has a new home. One of the only times, Brandon, in any sort of movie history I've ever heard of a character moving on, but the title not. Yep. It's really bizarre.
It's fucking bizarre.
But Brandon, with that being said, let's recall the box office of Jason Takes Manhattan. We've got 14,300,000. All right. Now, Brandon, that's really not bad. That's almost 3 times the budget.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's move on, Brandon, to 1993 with Jason Goes Straight to Hell. And on Jason Goes
Damn.
Straight to Hell, we move to New Line Cinema. And we knock at 16 million, Brandon. We've gone up. Every time they count Jason out, Brandon, somehow he comes. This is a win. I don't care what people say. You can look at the box office of part 1. You can look at the box office of part 3, part 4. Every time they count him out, Brandon, he comes back. Look at this box office as a win. People were interested more so in 1993 than they were in 1989. With that being said, though, Brandon, I'm going to be very brief about Jason Goes Straight to Hell. I think this is one of the most fun random Jason watches you can do. I think this film is as much as Jason as any other entry in a different way, but just as much. There's an energy to Jason Goes to Hell that is palpable.
Mhm.
The movie moves like a freight train. Thank God it got edited. Would I like to see this completely unedited version with all the stuff with Creighton Duke and all that? I really would. I really, really would. I don't think there's any validity to the idea that Creighton Duke was supposed to be Reggie from part 5. I think that's silly. Like, come on. Like, it's just another black guy in the movie. It's not this. It's not Reggie, guys. Come on. You know,
I was confused about that as a kid because, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I can understand that, but it's just like, for me, Jason Goes to Hell. It knows what it is. It's not trying.
Mhm.
It's really a lot like Jason X. I think, and Brandon, I want to talk about this, and I want the chat's opinion. You know, people say that Jason Goes to Hell, Brandon, is going to vary greatly in the chat. I see 8 out of 10s. I see 4 out of 10s. Okay, so Jason Goes to Hell is going to vary, and that's what I love about this movie. But here's the thing: people say that this is my opinion on this, Brandon, because I read Slash of the Titans, the book, The Making of Freddy versus Jason, and it chronicalizes everything in detail from 1989 going forward. Sean wanted to make that movie Freddy versus Jason, plain and simple, right? After Paramount was like, okay, I think we've kind of ran this, we can probably move on. Sean was instrumental in helping get Jason over to New Line, without a doubt, without a shred of a doubt. It's documented, okay? He wanted to make Freddy versus Jason, Brandon. He needed to make another movie. New Line was like, hey, let's greenlight another Friday the 13th movie, a Jason movie, because Freddy's Dead did really well. Why are we going to get this property and just do Freddy versus Jason? Why can't we do some appetizers before we do the big meal? That makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. If Freddy's Dead is really successful and it does a lot better than part 5 because it's marketed, you know, they took a year and a half off, right? Which is a lot compared to how those other Elm Streets were coming out. They're bang, bang, right? So if Freddy's Dead makes a lot of money, Sean and New Line are like, why do we have to just do this? We got to do something else. But here's the thing, Brandon. Sean, in this book, there is archival interviews. Sean says, we wanted to make more Jason stuff, but I needed to be careful. I couldn't do anything to mess with the idea of this Freddy versus Jason we're going to do. Now, this is where people will say, well, Jason Goes to Hell certainly doesn't help it. To that, I don't argue. But the idea, the nugget of the idea Sean had was, let's do something that kind of strays away. That way, we're kind of getting away from the Jason stuff in a sense. So Jason can go ahead and fight with Freddy, and this movie won't really screw with that. And you can really tell about that, Brandon, based off of the next film they do. But we'll get there, obviously. Because we're talking about a movie. The next one takes place fucking hundreds of years in the future. I don't think Sean told Adam, get the hockey mask out of the film in some way of like F the character of Jason. I simply think, Brandon, he was trying to make a film that wouldn't screw with Freddy versus Jason in his initial intent. Now, others will say, well, it certainly does. I don't think it does, clearly. I think Jason Goes to Hell kind of lives on its own island. But, Brandon, I also think that Jason Goes to Hell is in continuity as a hardcore fan. You pointed this out to me. Jason is waterlogged as fuck in Jason Goes to Hell. He's bulky. He's thick. He's bulgy. He's waterlogged. I think you can draw somewhat of a slight derivative, maybe slight, to say that Jason Goes to Hell is in fact part 9. I can live with that. I don't know how you feel. I love part 9. I love Jason Goes Straight to Hell. I think it's really entertaining. And I would give the movie a solid 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8. But there's a lot of ways I feel a certain way about Jason Goes to Hell. I love it. As the older I get, Brandon, it's the last truly vintage Friday movie. Truly vintage. 2001's not vintage. 1993, Brandon, that was the year where you had Jurassic Park, this biggest movie ever. But we were talking about the other day, but you also had the Mario Brothers movie, which is a fucking fever dream.
Juggernaut.
1993, Brandon. Yeah, 1993 is really like one of those last years where anything could happen. Truly anything could happen. Look at it, Brandon. You had Leprechaun and Jurassic Park. You had Jason Goes to fucking Hell and Jurassic Park. So I don't know. I think this is the last truly great vintage Friday movie. I love it. And I just want to know what you think. I think it's a solid 8.5 out of 10.
It's bizarre because I hated it for 20 plus years. Now I love it.
I'd like to expand on that, though. I'd like to expand on that.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's Stockholm Syndrome or if I've always loved the movie and it was just trying to convince myself that I didn't like the movie, or if I've just grown to appreciate the movie. It's one of those three options. But like I said, I saw it in theaters when I was 6 years old. I remember turning to my mom after he got blown up, asking her if that was the end of the movie, because I couldn't fathom they just blew up Jason and the movie was still left. There was still a movie left to be told. Anyways, after seeing it in theaters for the next 2 decades, I always found myself renting it consistently, buying the DVD. I don't think I had the VHS, but I bought the DVD. I bought the bootleg Blu-ray from eBay before the box set was released. I always found myself going back to Jason Goes to Hell for some reason. But I hated the fucking movie. Look at that shit. I hated the movie vehemently, right? Until about it was between 2014 and 2017. I think it was probably more so 2017. Suddenly, I had an epiphany of, I fucking love this movie. Everything about it. I love it. It's a blast to watch. I suddenly, for some reason, no longer hate the film. And ever since then, I've been able to watch it and appreciate the fucking movie. It's the only movie I've ever seen that I've hated for years and suddenly found a liking for. So again, it's either because I always liked the film but try to convince myself that I didn't, I've grown to like the film, or I'm having some kind of weird Stockholm syndrome of the film. Whatever the reason is, the fact remains that I do love the film now. And I think it does fit in continuity with part 8. If you look at his bloaty, blotchy, toxic waste burned skin. I brought this up to Adam Marcus a couple of years ago on Facebook. And yeah, Adam, if you ever see this, vouch for me. I brought that up and he said something like, that's a good theory, but I was really making a sequel to part 7 more so than part 8, which I understand from a logic point of view. But I think we as fans, the better explanation is he's bloated and blotchy because of the toxic waste from part 8. I'm rambling here, but as far as the body jumping goes, I think the film's only real fatal flaw was having Creighton Duke know about the body jumping ability and his evilness and his supernatural abilities. I think the body jumping should have been just as much of a surprise to Jason as it was to anybody else. Because if you have him blown up and the guy eats his heart because Jason's talking to him from beyond the grave, and he becomes Jason, Jason should have had like a holy shit moment. I'm back again in this guy's body. Like maybe looking at his arms like in the mirror and stuff, like looking at himself. That would have been fucking insane. And the characters don't realize that Jason's body jumping. Maybe Creighton Duke is pissed because he wasn't the one to kill Jason. And now he's got to figure out why these killings are happening. That would have been fucking sweet if they didn't know he was body jumping and had to figure it out. And Jason's learning too in a way. He's learning how to jump from body to body. That would have been how I would have done the story.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Brandon. With that logic you would have taken out the parts of the movie where the mama of the daughter that has the kid, in essence, Jason's sister, you would have taken out the scene where she looks in the mirror, or maybe not, or would she have had to have died if she looked in the, because if you want it to be a mystery for everybody, there's a scene in the movie where she looks in the mirror where her boyfriend's got a hold of her, but when she looks in
Yeah.
the mirror, she sees Jason.
I would
She
keep
sees
that.
Jason in the mirror.
Yeah, I would keep that because I think the fun thing about it is if they had done my idea, which they didn't, obviously, because it's not done. Let it be known to the audience. Let it not be a mystery for us, but a mystery for the characters. Like, we know the fucking bomb's going off, right? But the characters don't realize that it's Jason. I think that would have been a better way to do it. Dude, look at that shit.
I mean, isn't this a great look? I gotta straighten up his mask, but isn't this a great look for the character in part? Like I said, dude, isn't there something so painfully early 90s about this in the best way?
It's the best. It's the best. I sort of had a problem with it a little bit back in the day, but it was almost a day one enjoyment. There were only a few things about it that bugged me.
See, hold up your part 8 mask, your part 9 mask. We'll see how, I want to see how similar they are. Yeah, see, yours has a little bit more of a darker. I need to get one from you. See, I like that one. Maybe it's the lighting, I don't know, but I feel like yours is a little bit darker than mine. The chevrons are pretty close and everything. But you see, you got wear on the right top side. Mine doesn't have much. But Brandon, you'd be proud of me. Look, it's not exactly the same kind of material, but I did weather this shirt myself. See?
I like it.
It's okay.
Is that one of those jean shirts? Is that what that is? Like a blue jean shirt?
Kind of, yeah. And then I literally I burned holes through it and stuff. It's far from screen accurate, but I was like, well, I can keep him naked or I can try to put a shirt on him. So I tried.
It looks accurate to me.
It's accurate enough, right?
It looks.
But Brandon, I don't know. I think I don't know what we rate this film based on the audience score because it's either 8s, 9s, and 10s or 4s and 5s.
For me, Jason Goes to Hell now. Obviously, I love the film now. With that said, though, I rank Jason Goes to Hell as a 7 out of 10, which is, in my book, it's called a worthy of a rewatch. I love the movie now. I love it. I love the fucking movie now. It's a fucking blast to watch. It's weird and hokey and cheesy and avant-garde in the best ways. There are flaws. I don't think it's perfect. I think 7 out of 10 worthy of a rewatch is a good number because you can keep watching it and keep appreciating new things, but it doesn't touch anywhere near Crystal Skull. And I don't think it touches the quality of part 5, 6, 7, 8, you know? So,
yeah. Now, Brandon, before we move on, I got to ask you this question. And I want to ask the chat this question. So chat, get ready to answer this. The poster for Jason Goes to Hell, rate it on a scale of 1 to Crystal Skull for the chat as well. Obviously, Brandon's version of a Crystal Skull is a beyond a 10. It's perfect. Beyond perfect. In the chat right now, what do you rate the Jason Goes to Hell poster, Brandon? And is it the best poster in the franchise?
The poster is a Crystal Skull. Absolutely. I think it's one of the most iconic images from the whole franchise. You could show that chrome hockey mask in front of fire. Everybody on the fucking planet knows this Jason Goes to Hell. They just know it. Yeah. I think as much as I love part 6, the poster of the silhouette in the graveyard is not very iconic. I think the only other poster in the series that comes close to the infamy of the part 9 poster is the part 8 poster. Maybe part 4 with the knife and the hockey mask. But part 8 and part 9, I think, are the most flamboyantly, brightly colored, iconic images of the franchise as far as posters are concerned.
Yeah. There you go.
What do
I
you
agree.
think?
I think Jay, I don't, there are some days, Brandon, where I'll say the original Friday the 13th poster is the most iconic. And I think it's brilliant. It's haunting. I love posters that are somewhat metaphorical, where you've got the silhouette of the killer, and inside the silhouette of the killer is the kids at the camp. It's beautiful. But then you look at Jason Takes Manhattan, and it's like Jason's taking Manhattan. But the thing about Jason Goes to Hell, Brandon, it's like, before seeing that movie, you are about to take a fucking ride. And I can imagine, Brandon, I remember when I was a little kid, okay, going to the mom and pop video stores around 95, seeing the posters for Jason Goes to Hell, and it would scare the fuck out of me as a kid. I was literally on edge seeing the poster. I mean, dude, that's hell, you know, and the crystal skull against it was just incredible. So, oh man. It seems like people are definitely higher on the poster. What's up, Garrett? Garrett says 10 out of 10 on the poster. I remember seeing that big standee in the middle of my theater with the mask and flipping out. Oh, I bet. You know. All right, Brandon, we're moving on. To recall, Brandon, the box office for Jason Goes to Hell was 15.9 million, Brandon. What do you think the box office for Jason X was? Now, take in mind, Brandon, this movie was bootlegged.
Yep.
Take a guess.
Yeah. I'm going to say the box office was 9 million.
The box office for Jason X was, was
no
17 million.
That's not bad, man.
Brandon.
That's not bad.
Brandon, Jason doesn't die.
What was the budget for Jason X? Like 10 million?
No, it wasn't that. Let me see. Let's see. The budget for Jason X was... No, you're right. It was 10 million.
Jeez.
So, but here's the thing. Like, the reason I didn't want to bring up the budget is because it's kind of a moot point to me. My point is this: regardless of the budget spent for the movie, the thing for me is how many asses were put in the seats for people to go see it. And the fact of the matter is, Brandon, you could argue, well, there is also inflation, but still, even taking inflation out, Brandon, Jason still put asses in the seats for Jason X. If it would have dipped down, that would have looked really bad. I look at Jason X and I'm like, dude, it still carried the baton further. And it's clear doing this film was done to not fuck with Freddy versus Jason. It's clear, because how do you avoid messing with Freddy versus Jason, Brandon? You do a movie in the future. You know, I guess naturally that's space, because how expensive would it have been to create a world, an Earth that was 2445, whatever year it was. Now, Brandon, when you heard about this movie when you were younger, did you have expectations, high expectations? Did you say to yourself, there's no way space is going to work? Or being a big Alien fan, did you say this could work?
No, I said there's no way this is going to work. I'm not sure if it was Fangoria. It was probably Fangoria, because I was still collecting Fangoria's hard back then. I saw a couple of photos. I think it was the photo of what is his name? The black guy creeping up behind Jason with the knife. I think there was that promo image in it. Yeah. There was that promo image in it. I was like, that actually looks kind of cool, though. Thinking to myself, I remember vividly thinking that to myself. But when I saw the trailers, as much as I liked Drowning Pool's bodies in the trailer, as good of a trailer as it was, I was like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. And I didn't see it in theaters. It was there and gone at our AMC before we had a chance to even see it. So I didn't see it until Blockbuster. And we fucking loved it from the day one rental. So that's the story of that.
But so when you watch the movie, I feel like the intro of Jason X isn't necessarily misleading, Brandon, but there is a certain level of intensity and like, holy shit, like they have him, you know, and the movie certainly gets sillier after that. But like the intro of the film, the first, whatever, when they have him in captivity at Crystal Lake Research Center, Crystal Lake Research, like there's something about that I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, dude, is this movie actually going to be pretty dark? You know, but then obviously it gets silly. But I mean, is that your favorite? What is your favorite part of Jason X?
Favorite part of Jason X.
I guess gotta say, if you're thinking about Brand, for me, it's Uber Jason. The look of Uber Jason is insane.
Uber Jason's great, but I really like the simulation stuff towards the end where he's seeing the Crystal Lake and he's like beating the girls with the sleeping bags and stuff. I love that whole scene. It's
Yeah,
such a good throwback to the nostalgic days of the series. So
it really is. Yeah.
yeah,
And it looks cool too. That CGI, I don't remember it being horrible, you know.
it
Some of the CGI is kind of bad, but that scene where he goes back in time to Crystal Lake, or not back in time. Yeah, well, I guess kind of. Like, I remember it looking kind of cool. And
does.
seeing Uber Jason in there. But I see, Brandon, that's the interesting thing. And look, I'm seeing the chat that we actually have some love for Jason X. I'm seeing 8 out of 10s. I'm seeing a 2 out of 10. 7 out of 10. John Flesher, Jason X was the first Friday I saw in theaters. Jason X is too silly for me, 3 out of 10. 7 out of 10, 7.5. 2 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Brandon, do you think it boils down to what kind of Friday the 13th film you like, more or less? Or do you think it's just there is a limit for people's humor when it comes to how they like Jason? What do you think it is? Because, I mean, for me, I like horror comedies. I really do.
Yeah.
And I like the ones that kind of take the piss out of themselves,
Yeah.
where it's just
There's,
like, look, yeah.
There's a big portion of the fan base, I think, that really likes the hard, gritty version of the movies, like 1 through 4, 1 through 5. They don't like the hokey, campy stuff of 6, 7, 8, 9, especially 10. I think that's the split camp right there. I happen to be in the camp that loves both, obviously. And again, like we said before, Jason X is not really afraid to be Jason X, and it knows exactly what kind of movie it is. And it doesn't overindulge itself. Like it's in on the joke enough to still be funny and entertaining, and it doesn't take it so far as to make it feel like cringy and awkward. Like I've heard things about Sharknado, the sequels, where the first movie was sort of lightning in a bottle because they weren't in on the joke. And then once they were in on it, they took it way too far with parts 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the fuck. Jason X feels like it's in on the joke just enough to let you have fun. Am I making any fucking sense here?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a question I want to ask too, Brandon, but I don't want to ask it until we get to the next movie. But with that being said, Brandon, over the years, I gotta be honest with you, I think I like Jason X more than Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh yeah.
I didn't used
question.
to, though. I didn't used to. I think Jason X is truly, in terms of enjoyability, a solid 9.
Same. That's my ranking. Jason X is the 9 out of 10, which is a one hell of a ride for my ranking
Do you
system.
think? Where do you think this is Kane's? What do you think is Kane? Let me ask you this: because this is the last Kane movie, so this is a good time for me to ask the chat this as well. What is the worst Kane Hodder performance? And I say worst, really, what do you think is just not the best for him? Because I don't think he was bad in any of them. I think most people would agree that regardless of screen time, Kane is great in all of them. He's identifiable. When you see him when you see him within 3 seconds, you can tell it's Kane. What is Kane's best Jason, and what is his, in your opinion, least best outing? And where I'm interested to see where you feel about him and Jason X specifically.
I think his best is Manhattan. I think his worst is Jason Goes to Hell, only because
he didn't have enough to work with as a character.
Not enough to work with. They didn't make him look big enough with the trick shots. There's a couple scenes where he stumbles, like when he's lifting the playground thing out of the ground. You see him kind of trip backwards a little bit. I'm like, there's certain things about that movie where they didn't help him at all. You know what I mean? So it wasn't bad by any means. He's still scary as fuck in Jason Goes to Hell, but we didn't see enough of him. And they didn't do the usual stuff to make him appear bigger and scarier than he is, So,
but Brandon, I watched Jason X maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'll put the movies on when I'm cleaning and filing stuff. Dude, I think he has somewhat of a swagger in Jason X. I think because by that point he was like, "Oh, I am Jason." There's like a swagger in his walk, and I feel like I'm not saying Jason X is his best because I think he had something to prove in 7. He's fucking intense in 7. But there's something like Jason X is high. It may be, in my opinion, his second best. I love Part 8 as well, but something about X, man, I think he had a swagger by that point to where he this is my role, and I really like X. I don't know how I feel about the uber Jason look. I understand they kind of wanted to go back to the drawing board a little bit, but it seems a little underdeveloped in a sense. Like I
I
don't
don't
really
like
love the yeah.
he has too much hair. The pointed nose of the hockey mask is weird. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the human version in Jason X.
Yeah.
His mannerisms are great. His attitude's great, but the costume
Yeah.
itself is very weird in Jason X.
Well, guys, let's move on. We've been going for a while, and I've been having so fun with this, so I got to make sure I don't go too long-winded. But Brandon, it would be a couple more years. We would finally get it. There are many scripts that were almost made that were horrible. I can never look at this film in a negative light. I really can't, Brandon. I used to be very critical of this movie. People need to realize how fucking lucky we are for Freddy versus Jason. New Line Cinema, Brandon, but this movie made $116 million in the box office. But Brandon, here's the thing. I think they did good, but they did spend a lot of money to make it. And I'm not talking about the budget of the film. I'm talking about all the scripts they bought in the past, all the time and management used in the past. I don't know that this film was as successful as it should have been, not because the film didn't do well. Clearly, Brandon, it did well. Look, it did over $100 million in 2003 when ticket prices were probably, what, $4 a ticket?
Yeah, or less.
But they probably ate into their profits a little bit with 10 years of false starts. But with that being said, Brandon, you have stated to me Freddy versus Jason is much more of an Elm Street film rather than a Friday film.
Yeah.
But with that being said, how does it fare with its treatment of Jason to you? Because there's a lot of criticism of not only Ken, but just the way they treat Jason in the film. And do you think there's any validity to that?
I don't like the fear of water thing at all. Obviously, the writers of the film have already said that they took that too far. That wasn't their intention. That was too far, considering we've seen him proactively go into water on his own accord several times in movies before this. I like the subconscious fear of drowning aspect, which they didn't explore. They just made it seem like he was afraid of water. But I do like the explorations of Jason's trauma and his nightmares and Freddy exploiting his fears and stuff. That was some good stuff we haven't seen before or since. I did like the look of Jason in this film. I like the really rotten, dark skin. The hockey mask was good.
Yep.
No. The look was good. I'm not a huge fan of the jacket. I think Ken Kersinger did a pretty good job within the context of the story and what he was told they wanted for the film. Obviously, Kane Hodder was who we wanted. It's always going to be a shame that we didn't get Kane Hodder. You've said plenty of times before that we know Kane Hodder wouldn't have worked because he would have said fuck no to stuff on set. Like, especially the water thing. He would have been like, Jason's not afraid of water like this. This won't work. He would have been adamantly against that shit. They wanted a yes man. They wanted production tight, clean, on schedule, without issues. It
Definitely
sucks, but it could have been worse. Ken Kersinger didn't do a bad job. And at least he's still in the family because he was in part 8 for a small scene. He played Jason in certain scenes as a stuntman in part 8 too. So it's just the cast was great in Freddy vs. Jason 2. The characters were great. The story was excellent. Robert Englund was in top form. The special effects were great. The cinematography and lighting were fucking pristine in Freddy vs. Jason. It's a visual treat, that movie. And also, obviously some of the rules of Freddy's world don't really make sense towards the end of the film, but it can all be forgiven because the movie itself is so damn fucking fun to watch. Infinitely fun. For me,
Yeah.
Freddy vs. Jason is a 10 out of 10. I've given it a masterpiece back in September when I did a review for it. It's a masterpiece. It may not be on the level of some other masterpieces in both respective franchises, but it's better than a 9 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10. It's just, unapologetically love that movie.
It's really hard
with
to,
it, but I love it.
yeah, it's really hard to argue with what you're saying, especially because In my opinion, Brandon, what they should have done is had that scene of the water where he's getting quote unquote almost like waterboarded or drowning in that one shot. They should have treated it for Jason as more of a distraction rather than a fear motif, because he was dead in the bottom of lakes for that whole time. Like, I think he's like, the water is kind of a friend to him at that point. In part 6, he goes underwater to fight Tommy.
Yeah.
You know, but with that being said, Brandon, the vision, like you said, there's a visual flair to Freddy versus Jason. There's an energy to Freddy versus Jason that is incredible. And I really like Ronnie Yu, the director. I really do. And I think people need to give him a break. I don't think the guy didn't have enough care to not want to use a guy as Jason. I don't think he gave a rat's ass. It's clear that the producers were like, look, we've worked with this guy before. Let's get somebody that's just going to do what we want him to do. We don't have time. I really do think it's that simple. But with that being said, I think Ken has a great look.
Yeah.
You know, and really maybe that was for the best, because you could almost say that Kane's Jason would beat the piss out of Freddy. As much as I love Freddy, it's like, dude, Kane is a demon. Like,
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, fuck, man.
Also, yeah, exactly. I agree with everything you said. But as far as the music goes for the film, the score for Freddy vs. Jason is one of the best original scores in both franchises.
Right.
Fucking fantastic. And the contemporary soundtrack kicks fucking ass too. Fucking fantastic. Yeah. You got Chimera on there. You got Slipknot on there. I think you got Hatebreed on there too.
You may have Hatebreed. I want to say Seven Dust was on there, but that could be another movie I'm thinking of. Regardless, El Nino's How Can I Live, Brandon, is a jam. It
is. It's a great fucking song.
You know?
Great song.
Brandon, I'm going to agree with you tonight. It's a perfect 10. It is literally a miracle that we have it.
It is. I still can't believe 20 years later that Freddy versus Jason exists. You know what I mean? I can't believe it, because I spent so long as a kid waiting for it. The fact that it's now 20 years old blows my fucking mind. It blows my fucking mind.
I hear you. All right, Brandon, we got one more. Friday the 13th would come back during the remake era, which would have happened, quite frankly, right after Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Which is probably why there wasn't any sort of follow-up, I guess. I don't know. But Brandon, how much do you think the remake made at the box office? Now, to review, Brandon, Freddy versus Jason made $116 million in 2003. Now, the remake came out in 2009. What do you think it did?
I think it made $62 million. 92.
$92 million. $700,000. Brandon, Friday the 13th did so good. It did much better than the Halloween film that came out 2 years prior from Rob Zombie. I think Jason is a fucking force to be reckoned with. He doesn't die. Take him away from a few years, Brandon, he'll make more money. Now, I know you're not the biggest fan about this movie, and we're going to talk about that, and that's cool. But you have to admit, Jason's staying power is unlike anything.
Oh, it is.
It's incredible.
Yeah, he's got an intrigue like no other slasher villain, I think, in a different way.
And I want to make something known, Brandon. If you look at the studio, it's New Line Cinema and Paramount.
Yep.
Now, Brandon, I did some research. New Line Cinema started producing this movie. It was greenlit and it was in production when they realized, holy shit, we can't release this movie and call it Friday the 13th. We don't have the rights to that. Paramount got with them. They struck a deal. Paramount distributed the film foreign. So, Brandon, I want to show something real quick. There is a steelbook set of 1 through 8 and a red case set that came out a year ago or so. You know what I'm talking about? It's a red case Blu-ray set. It's got a bunch of part 7s on it and one part 2 image. I have it, but I grabbed the steelbook set. They did that too. Overseas, Brandon, this set includes the remake because Paramount owns the rights to the film foreign. New Line and Warner Brothers has the rights to the remake domestically. That was a deal they made, which is bizarre considering that we got that remake, Brandon, but we didn't realize it as fans at the time probably as much. But now we looking back, the fact that that remake happened, Brandon, really was a fucking miracle. And the only way it happened was because of ignorance. New Line just started making the movie already. So Paramount was like, okay, well, you have to figure us in. You have the rights to the character. You can't call it Friday the 13th. You can't. That's us. You know? So let me go real quick, Brandon, because I know you probably have a little bit more to say about this than me. And this is how I feel. To me, the Friday remake, I'll exclude Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'll exclude it because that's clearly the fan favorite. People think that's the best, without a doubt. I think the Friday the 13th remake is the least offensive. I really do. I really do. You can take the Friday remake. You could argue some people are like, he takes a prisoner. But then again, it's like, is that really out of character? I used to think it was. I don't think it is.
It's not.
Brandon, think about part 2. He thought that was his mama until she got out of the way and he saw his mom on the table. He's not all there. This is clearly not a zombie Jason. This Jason was definitely a throwback to the original 2, 3, and 4. It's a hybrid in a sense, clearly, visually and the way he performs. But the Friday remake, it's the least offensive. The Nightmare remake did not take enough risks. It felt computer generated. I don't need to get into the Rob Zombie remake. It speaks for itself. But I think that the Friday remake, for good or bad, is the least offensive. It's a good entry in the series. I think Derek is fire. And while I do think the opening of the film is better than the majority of the film, I don't think it's steep enough of a drop-off to where it's just like, this film is garbage. I just don't feel like. I love the blonde-haired bad guy. He's such a dick. I don't think his demise was good enough for how much of a dick he was. We could have sweetened the pot there. I think Jablonski's score is so good. He also did the Elm Street remake. I think that there is something with the Friday remake that if you go back and watch it again, it'll become endearing to you. It certainly did to me. I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion or Brandon's, quite frankly. I just think that there is meat on the bone with the Friday remake. And it's kind of like left out when people talk about those big remakes. People usually go to Halloween naturally because of Rob Zombie's presence or the Texas Chainsaw remake. I think the remake is a good movie. I do. Is it dated, Brandon? It is. It's very dated. The cast especially. You don't see those people in movies anymore. That Asian kid, he was in everything during that time, including the Elm Street remake.
Yep.
Disturbia. That guy was in everything, Brandon. But I just think that the remake is a good movie. I'm going to give my score as well. I think the remake is an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good slasher film. I think Derek is great. I think the ending sucks. Way too cliche. Just give me some bubbles. Don't have them pop out of the water. Give me some bubbles, Brandon. That's all I needed. That's it. That's it. Cut to black. That's my thoughts on the Friday remake. Now go ahead and shred it if you want.
I'm not going to shred it. No, it's. I don't hate the film. I'm not particularly a fan of the film, but I don't hate it. Derek Mears did an okay job. I hate the look of Jason in this film, the long blonde hair. The mask is a little bit too bulbousy and weird. I think if the whole movie had been a chase sequence based on the first 20 minutes of the film, that would have been my choice. I think the rest of the film is just another slasher movie. It doesn't really justify its existence for me. But I gave it in my review a 6 out of 10, which is passably average. So as you can see, I haven't really warmed up to that film at all.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. I agree. I don't like the hair. I would have gotten rid of it. Even on here, you can see it. It's stringy.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think, Brandon, hear me out. Hear me out on this. I think when you look at the set photos or you look at the photos of Derek on set, he is a fucking force of nature.
Mm.
He's in shape, he's big, and he fucking runs.
Yeah.
He runs in the scene where the pothead guy sees Jason with the and clearly, Brandon, I don't know if you agree with me, the sackhead Jason in this one was dude, it was fucking scary. The
Yeah.
first time I saw it, when he sees it, the reaction the guy has, he does that kind of fight or flight, like that quick yell. Dude, that look with the sack in the beginning is insane. Now,
Yeah.
but how do you feel about the survival skills of Jason in this one? Because this is what I was gonna say real quick. Let me thank you, Chris Snyder, with a $5 super chat. I appreciate it, and a channel member. What I love about the 09 is that he has survival skills, archery skills, stuff he would have learned at camp. It checks every box for a good Friday the 13th movie. I mean, do you like that element, or is that really a mute
Yeah.
point to what you
I'm
feel
fine
about
with
the
all that
film?
stuff. I think, his mom was a cook at the camp. He went to the camp. He would have learned all this stuff. He's been living in the woods, surviving. He would know all this stuff. I'm perfectly fine with all that stuff. Matter of fact, I feel like the Jason we knew from the original franchise probably, at least in the context of the narrative, probably knew that stuff as well. We just never saw it happen on screen. That makes sense to me. I'm not a huge fan of the tunnel system underneath Crystal Lake. I think it's kind of weird. But I think within the context of the story, as established tunnels, him living down there is perfectly fine. Him keeping Whitney as a hostage is perfectly fine in the context of his mother. Him having like the body room full of dead bodies works. The sharpening stone for the machete, all that stuff, as dungeony and weird as it is, I feel like it makes sense in the context of the story. I don't have a problem with that. No. My
All right, so
problems
you
with the
said
movie are mostly that it just feels like another slasher movie. It doesn't really feel like
and that's not good enough, is what you're saying for a Friday remake. If we're gonna remake it, it's got to
yeah,
be.
give us some twists, fake us out. There's just something so
I can meet
it
you
felt
halfway on that. I can
it
meet you
felt
halfway
like
on that.
it felt like Curse of Puppet Master to me.
Yeah.
Like, why does this movie exist?
I-
It's not terrible,
yeah.
but it's like, why?
I just think the things that for me, the things I love about it, I fucking love about it. That like especially the music and the look of Jason. It's just I dig it. But I can respect that. It's not your flavor. I just love I really love the mongoloid look of Jason, and I'm glad that this one was. I remember when I was getting ready to see this movie, I was like, "Is he going to be a zombie?" Because clearly he's dead in Freddy versus Jason. He's frostbitten. His entire body
Yeah.
is frostbitten. He's like almost like this charcoal color.
Right.
But there's a lot, but Brandon, it's clear that there are some fans clearly for the Friday with me. Chris is one, but then you got horror films, horrible remake, bland, forgettable. But then Iron Wolf gives it 8 out of 10, which is what I think I gave it. Big K gives it a 3. Let's see, Sean gave it a 7. Let me see what else people are giving it. Another 7 out of 10. 4 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 0 out of 10. So Brad, I think the average score we could go is actually with what you gave it, a 6. A 6 out of 10. But Brandon, this has been the Friday the 13th show, but we have a bonus round we're going to knock out real quick. Are you good to go, Brandon? Or do you need?
Because
we've been going
for
a long time. There is a bonus round, Brandon. And for the chat, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us. This has been fucking awesome. I was so excited to do the show. We have a bonus round. The bonus round is the Never Hike Alone fan film and Never Hike in the Snow. I'm excited to talk about these. Brent, I'd like to knock out what I want to say real quick because I don't want to I'm going to make sure I'm not too long-winded. So I want to knock out what I want to say real quick, if that's fine with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I want to say, Brandon, and I say this when I say this, I mean this with genuine respect to you, because I actually like Loon. I really do. I like the stuff you have genuine quality, and it's cinematic, the stuff you do. So I mean that in the utmost respect. But in general, Brandon, I don't give a fuck about fan films in general, especially Elm Street fan films. I don't like wasting my time. I mean that respectfully. If I want to see Freddy, Brandon, there's one man I want to see. His name is Robert Englund. It's that simple. I don't mean that as a slight. I'm not saying that the ones that have come out aren't good. As a matter of fact, there is a fan film from Freddy I like. It's called The Confessions of Fred Krueger. It's one of my favorites. Brandon, Never Hike Alone is fucking awesome to me.
Yeah, it is good.
It is great.
It's
I
real good.
like the ghost element. It's a fresh element. It's almost a shame, and I mean this with respect to Vincent DeSanti, who I also have a lot of respect for. Clearly a big fan. It's almost a shame that this is a fan film because they could have made this a Paramount/New Line movie. The idea to me was so good. When it comes to Never Hike in the so I'll give the score for Never Hike Alone, Brandon, a 9 out of 10. It blew me away. When it comes to Never Hike in the Snow, I thought it was great. I did not love the look of baby Jason. I wish they would have not shown the front of him. Too silly for me. If they would have kept it from the back side of him, I would have liked it. I appreciated the drama that Vincent was bringing in. I appreciate bringing back the characters. And I'm super excited for tomorrow, which we have another one coming out, right? Never Hike in the Snow 2, right? Is what's coming out. And I'm super excited. I'd give Hike in the Snow a 7 out of 10. My fear is that Vincent is going to come close, but may not ever touch Never Hike Alone, which really isn't an insult. It's really a compliment because that's how high praise I give Never Hike Alone. As a matter of fact, I wish if they ever did a big box set again, Brandon, they'd include it. I really do. But on general, I'm not excited about fan film stuff. People have to really be able to film stuff well. You do that very well. He does that very well. So I'm going to shut up about it. But I thought I was going to hate it. And for the people asking about Vengeance, I haven't seen those. So I apologize, Justin. But I'm a big fan of Vincent and what he's doing. And I'm really excited. Fuck Halloween this year. Tomorrow's Friday the 13th in October. Who gives a fuck about Halloween? Go ahead, Brandon.
I think Never Hike Alone is great. I would probably rank it an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I need to rewatch it again. I wasn't a huge fan of Never Hike in the Snow when it came out. I was lukewarm. I think it was way shorter than Never Hike in the Snow. I'm probably going to go just off the cuff. I'm going to go either a 7 or an 8 on part 2 because I don't remember part 2 that well. I just remember not liking it as much as the first one. But I'm fucking super stoked about tomorrow. Hopefully I have time to watch it tomorrow. That trailer that dropped 2 days ago with like the retrospective stuff of the other footage of the other movies cut in was fucking gave me goosebumps. I was like, this could be the next movie, man. I like the look of Ghost Jason. I love the all black charcoal skin, sort of like Freddy versus Jason. I just think it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And on the Vengeance notes, the Vengeance films are pretty good too. They're pretty damn good. And also I want to shout out Peter Anthony's Roseblood, who did a fan film sequel to New Blood in the last couple of years. And he actually got back Tina and Dr. Cruz for the movie. So it's fucking insane. Just want to point that out there.
Damn.
Yeah. It's good stuff. That's on YouTube too,
Brandon,
I believe.
what does it say about Paramount that they don't put the axe to this kind of stuff? Do you think in my opinion, I think it's much better publicity to not have publicity about it in a sense, because if they shut it down, but they refuse to do anything with the property, it would really just make the fans so enraged that they're just putting the kibosh on it.
I think it's good for the franchise. It's keeping the franchise relevant while they make up their fucking mind. And if anything, it'll show more interest in the official IP property when they decide to make something. You know what I mean? Because of the success. I feel like the success of Never Hike Alone, especially because that's been the most mainstream breakthrough of any of the Friday fan films. I feel like that's only helped the brand going forward, because now it's in the zeitgeist again to a certain extent, because everybody's like, have you seen that fucking fan film? Whereas it would have been, the remake was the last movie that came out. 13 years ago. So it's sort of it's helping keep things relevant. I think it's at least keeping the conversation open. These fan films.
It's like chain links. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, damn, Brandon, we did it. 2 hours and 46 minutes, but we went through the entire franchise for the pre-Friday the 13th show. Now, Brandon, you're just getting started because tomorrow, listen, Brandon, I mean this. Don't let the demonetizing shit get you down. You're going to get your stuff back. Of course. Like I said, I had a buddy that I talked to, went through the same shit. He goes, dude, it's just, they don't tell you. It's just bullshit computer stuff doing it. They always give their people their stuff. You didn't do it. You didn't do anything wrong. You got nothing to worry about. Tomorrow's an exciting day. You've got a bunch of content coming out. It's like Tabata TV. It really is, which is why you said you do it. Right. Because I was like, why don't you do one a day till the 13th? And you're like, that's not fun. I want to watch it all day. And you're right. You want to make it like television. You've been working your ass off. I'm excited. You said these reviews are like 15 minutes each, too.
Yeah, they're long. I think the shortest one is like 11 minutes. The remake might be 9 or 10 minutes, but I guess you'll have to wait and see. But they're not out there yet. I'm going to schedule them in the morning.
Remake video too.
You're going to be mad, but I got the making of videos for all 7 of these masks are going to drop tomorrow as well in between the reviews. So it's going to be a full day. All the reviews plus 7 of these videos are coming out. So it'll be a good day, man.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I want to remind people too. Unita candles. Brandon's back. We've got the butter and chocolate melts. Jason Takes Manhattan melts are back. And this is not everything. Brandon's favorite, the remake. He's buying all of them tomorrow.
I am.
Not. We got part 5, fresh linen, which people love. We got part 3 melts. Everything's going to be available tomorrow, guys. Don't worry. I mean, and then of course the part 4 candles. They smell like banana bread. There's Jason in there. How do you beat that? I mean,
it smells like banana bread. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
You obviously being a big fan, you understand the relevance of the banana from part 4. So everything's on brand. I'm going to be reviewing. Let me get this out. Shit. I will be reviewing the new Steelbook for part 1 tomorrow morning. Then I'll also be having a retrospective for part 7 come out tomorrow because I really want to talk about that film. Obviously tomorrow's Tabata Vision Day, so I'm super excited myself because I'm off work and I'm literally watching Friday the 13th stuff all day tomorrow. I'm posting nothing but Friday stuff on Instagram. Don't use Twitter, people. Twitter's a cesspool. Use Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm so happy everybody hung. We had Brandon, tonight's crowd was insane. We had between 130 to 170 people all night.
Fucking A.
Talking Friday. It's the greatest besides Elm Street. That's not true. I'm going to say both Friday and Elm Street are the greatest of all time, Brandon. You really can't have one without the other. You really can't.
Yeah. Yep.
They're intertwined.
They are.
So thank you guys for having fun. I want to thank all the people that donated tonight. We had PP Dangler, who donated and became a super chat, who donated and become a member. Chris Snyder, Thorn, Tales from the Shelf, Big K's Movies and Games, TGB, Salem's Podcast, Saturn Video, of course, as usual. Thank you. God bless each and every one of y'all. Evan, the movie guy, says Twitter needs to die.
Does.
Thank you guys. We love you. Brandon, do you have anything you want to say to the people?
I have nothing else to say. Erotic shaving. That's all I have to say.
Mongolian beef. It is off the chain. It's crispy. Dude, it's fantastic. That shit is fantastic.